Okay, I did it. Part 2's coming out 2 weeks later. It's here. I'm wearing a different Avatar Last Airbender shirt. The rumors are true. I love that show. If that doesn't make sense, it's because you don't watch my gaming channel. So, anyways, welcome back to an absolutely necessary recap of Minecraft Diaries Season 2, Part 2. War of the Magi. I did that out of order, but whatever. And we're in a different part of my room. We're at a different blank wall because now all my walls are blank. So I could move to a different wall. I moved to the wall in front of my window. It's not nighttime. I'm not recording this at nighttime because I packed all my lamps. So we are beating the sunset, okay? Because the last one, this took me 5 hours. So right now it's 11. I gotta beat the sun, so the sun will be changing throughout this entire thing because I don't have lamps because I didn't think ahead. But here we are. So we have a new map, and if you don't remember how my map chart works, it's been 2 weeks. Come on. But whatever. People that have to do with each other are near each other, so like Afmal, Garth, Lawrence, Zoe, this person that we don't know yet, ignore that. But not everyone has to do with each other just because they're next to each other, but most of the time they do. Like Sasha and Ivy, they got nothing to do with each other. I'm not going to dramatically be revealing strangers because I barely had access to my printer, guys. I had to break into my school, okay? And I did not print new ones besides for Cadenza because I hated Cadenza's last outfit so much I couldn't stand to look at it. So she has a new one. Now, I'm going to tell you the people that got cut from the chart. It's on the wall over here, so I'll be looking at this wall. Cloud is cut, Xenix is cut, Gale, Ulrich, Donna, and the baby, Abby, Logan, Lelo, Rolo, Kyle, Fenner, Southeastern Wolf Tribe, Esmond, and the Enki Tribe. They're all cut because they're not mentioned that much. I will also be looking at my phone because I literally do not remember episode 50 to 85. So we're about to struggle out here, but I write really thorough notes, so it'll be fine. We'll be fine. So if you remember the last episode, Emmeline was like, hey, Afmal, can you plan my wedding? She's like, yes, of course I will. So in this episode, Afmal begins to plan Emmeline and Kenmer's wedding, and then she runs into Levin, and she said, Levin, when are you getting married? You know, because every parent likes to ask their 20-year-old child that. And he's like, I don't have time for that. And then Afmal's like, I've created a monster, because that's always Afmal's excuse. Afmal, she runs into Logan, and he's like, God, I hate weddings. She's like, girl, you did nothing for your wedding. I planned your entire wedding. And he's like, Afmal, I don't think you understand how hard it is to be handsome. It's really hard. She finds Caitlin, and Caitlin's freaking out because, so basically, like, Caitlin got Cadenza to come to Phoenix Drop to make all the dresses and tuxedos, and Caitlin's freaking out because she's like, dude, I have never seen this much blood in my entire life. She keeps stabbing herself with pins and needles, but she keeps going. I've never seen someone have this much energy and moxie and blah, blah, blah. And then Afmal's like, okay, like, Caitlin, like, it is a funny bit, okay, but that doesn't make sense for Caitlin's character. I think a lot of the characters kind of turn into blobs of each other because they switch from being silly to serious all the time, which I'll talk about a little later. Emmeline reminisces to Afmal kind of about when she forced moved into Emmeline's home, and she was like, I used to hate you, and now you're my best friend. And then she talks about how she doesn't know enough about Irene. Girl, you're getting married. Focus on yourself, okay? This is your day. So the wedding is really quick. Literally, it's like one cut scene that Chad officiates it. Is that what it's called? Officiates? So they go to the plaza, and then Lawrence asks Afmal when she's going to tell people about Okassis, because if you remember, Okassis was invaded by the Tula region, and Afmal has not told anybody yet because she wants people to be happy. And it's like, yes, girl, it's nice to live in ignorance bliss, but you know what else is nice? Knowing that there's an invasion and that the largest powerhouse in the Ruan region was invaded. That's also nice to know. But that's just me. That's just who I am. I would personally like to know that if I was a lord. And she's like, later. And then they change the topic, and Lawrence is like, so Afmal, You ever gonna get married? And she's like, oh, I don't have time for that. I want to figure out who I am first and what I am before I even think about that. But my heart says yes. And honestly, guys, good take from Aphmau. Great take from Aphmau. So then after the wedding, Aphmau goes to the docks and she runs into Aaron. And she's like, hey, Aaron. Okay, sorry, that was really dramatic. I live right next to the highway. So Aphmau runs into Aaron at the docks, and she's like, do you want to talk about anything? And he's like, yes, my dead wife. And then they talk about his dead wife, and then Aaron's like, if you need to talk about anything, let me know. And that's the end of that episode. So episode 52, Journey Which Way. Aphmau finally tells Malachi and Levin about Okazes, and they're like, what? Okay, that's really nice to know. That is so nice to know. Thank you for telling me right now. Not immediately when you got here. That's really cool and really fun. So Levin is like, okay, we got to set up for war then. And what's crazy is they're not even fully back on their feet yet. And he's already setting up for war. And then he's like, okay, I need to go talk to Brightport and Metelli. And then Aphmau decides it's finally time to find Lucinda. It's a Lucinda episode. For those who do not know, Lucinda is my favorite character. Lucinda and Nicole, they're my favorite characters. I love them. They're sassy, powerful women, and I love that. Aphmau says that she doesn't want to take everyone on the trip, so Caitlin says she's going to go to Scaleswind to tell Nicole about the Tula region. Vlad says that he wants to stay behind to watch Phoenix drop. And then Chad says he will be staying because he has to work on his inventions. So the gang is Lawrence, Aaron, and Travis. They head to Metelli and they hang out in Metelli for a bit. And then Lawrence tells Aphmau kind of about like the conversation he was having with Vincent, because if you remember, Vincent is a Shadow Knight, and he is a powerful Shadow Knight, and he's trying to be like, Lawrence, girl, you gotta get yourself under control, because Lawrence has been like wigging out recently. But yeah, basically Vincent literally just tells him, if you don't get this under control, you're going to hurt people, and you will not be able to live with people, because all you want to do is hurt people. And, God forbid a girl has a hobby. God forbid Lawrence has a hobby of killing people. God forbid. So Aphmau goes to check on the nether portal, which if you remember that massive nether portal she screwed up a few episodes ago when she went to go visit the wolf tribe. And Travis is sitting there, and then he turns around and he's gray and purple because he is a demon warlock, and because he was just attracted to this power that like it forced him to transform into one of his demon forms, essentially. But yeah, so the bandit that held Zoe, Malachi, and Levin hostage tells Aphmau that he has seen a Shadow Knight in the area. I don't know where that went. I'm gonna be so for real. I read through this last night. I don't think that goes anywhere. And if it does, I forgot to write it down. And I am thoroughly sorry. And you can go back to episode 52 and correct me and figure it out. Because by golly, I don't have time to do that. So episode 53, Lady of the Snow. So they end up in the like kind of area of Picaro Village, and it's covered in snow. The terrain is completely different. Everyone's like, what's going on right now? And so they're in a completely different area, and where they thought they were like, okay, let's go find somewhere where we can ask for directions. So they end up at a traveler's camp, and I'm pretty sure this is the traveler's camp from season 1, where they got the monk to save Malachi. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. A woman named Isabel. She's all the way down here. You can't even say her name. Her name is Isabel. A woman named Isabel is just like, yeah, you guys can stay. I don't have food for you. And they're like, no, we don't need that. We just need a place to stay. And she's like, oh, rad, cool, sick. Yeah, you guys can stay. Aaron gives, I don't know this new pattern. Aaron Aaron gives Aphmau some clothes, and she's like, oh my god, thank you. But won't you be cold? And he's like, I'm used to this weather. Because, Aaron, he's not from around here. He just vibed here. Because I don't think Picaro Village is near Okassis, which is where he's not from Okassis. He's from, like, the outskirts of Okassis. He's from, like, between Nakura Village and Okassis, called Falcon Claw, I think it is. So, okay, I just wanted to show how far away they are. This is the Ruin region map. I'll probably maybe fill it in the whole screen. I don't know. But they're on opposite sides of the region. And something I think is really funny about this is that Aaron chose to go the furthest possible place he could from Falcon Claw. And, fair enough. Fair enough. I'd want to go as far away from where I evaporated my family. If I evaporated my family. Which I didn't. They're in this house. They're not evaporated. Purpose is Aaron is not from the cold. Aphmau just wanted him shirtless. And Pro, give Aaron a shirt. Please give this man a shirt. If there's a third revival of this series, can Aaron please have a shirt? Please. So, God knows why Aaron was by Picaro Village, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. So Aphmau decides to go around and talk to everybody that's at this traveler's camp, and the first person she goes to, she offends, but he's like, it's okay, baby girl. You're cute and beautiful and stuff, so I won't hold it against you. And so then nothing comes out of that, and then nothing comes out of going around and talking to anybody. So if you remember, Travis has like this map in his book, and he was like, the map is not mapping. It is not matching up with this area. I am literally so confused. It is completely different because this area is not supposed to be covered in snow, which, like, okay, Travis, we've already established this. Glad you're caught up with everybody. But Isabel, she kind of takes Aphmau inside, and she's like, yo, I heard you're talking about a witch. And she was like, I know of a witch, so I'll tell you about the witch. And Aphmau's like, rad, sick. So apparently there's a woman named, like, the Lady in White, and she saved Isabel's grandmother one time in the snow. And then she, like, injures men, though, because, men evil. No, it's because, okay, Lucinda injures men. It's normally because, like, the men are bandits. So essentially, like, men that go in there are bandits, and then she injures them, and normally they, like, kidnap women. So she saves the women. That's what it is, guys. Chill out, okay? God forbid a woman has a hobby. God. But anyway, so Aphmau's like, oh my god, I'm gonna go into the tundra all alone, pretend to be injured and defenseless. So then she doesn't tell anybody she's doing this, or does she? I don't remember. Anyways, she goes into the tundra pretending to be injured, and then, oh my god, a werewolf appears, and he's like, you killed my king. Oh my god, that's you. I am going to kill you now. And then there is a flash of light. The werewolf is on the ground, covered in blood. And who do we see? Lucinda. We see Lucinda. Episode 54. Lucinda's like, oh my god, Aphmau. She said she wasn't worried because she knew, like, Aphmau wasn't dead and that she was in some sort of, like, other worldly situation, but then, like, no one believed her, and it's like, why wouldn't you believe that? Like, wouldn't you want to believe that your friend is still alive? Because I'm pretty sure everyone was under the assumption she was dead and missing. I mean, it had been 15 years, but, whatever. So then Travis and Aaron run over because, Aphmau screams because she almost gets killed by a werewolf, and then they see Lucinda, and he's like, what? I was gonna save you. I was gonna be such a good guard. I was gonna save you, Aphmau, I promise. So they head back to the camp, and Lawrence is wigged out. He is in his Shadow Knight form, and he is in front of Isabel. And then there's a man there that he's like a knife sword against his throat. And then everyone's like, whoa, Lawrence. Whoa, what the hell is happening? He was like, well, he was trying to hurt Isabel, and I'm not gonna stand for that because I am a gentleman. I'm a gentleman. And then Lucinda's like, oh my god, this is the guy I was looking for. And then she freezes him. And apparently Lucinda's like, yeah, so like Isabel, this girl, she was actually kidnapped from Picaro Village by that guy. And then Isabel's like, no. That's not what happened. I wasn't kidnapped. I was actually being held hostage. And by that I mean, basically, she ran away with this guy. She was like, I was in love with him, but, you know, then he started abusing me, and I wanted to leave, and he wouldn't let me leave. And then Lucinda's like, okay, he's gonna go to jail for a while, and then you are coming back to Picaro Village with me. And then she's like, I don't want to go back to Picaro Village, but okay, I'll go with you. So Aphmau's like, Lawrence, we need to talk. Okay, Aphmau, let me explain myself. Like I said, like literally, I went over to go talk to Isabel, and then this guy came over, and he started being a butt to me. Then he tried to hit Isabel. So I turned for a good reason, okay? Yeah, like there was something happening. But then he has a crisis, and this is a good crisis you should be having, Lawrence, because you suck at this. Basically, his crisis is about, like, what is the difference between control and protection? Yeah, Lawrence, what is the difference? Because you never learn it. You never learn it, Lawrence. You never learn the difference. I don't know if I could get the point across, but he never learns the difference. He gets worse. The character development is he begins to suck so bad, and his character gets nuked. And Aphmau, stop nuking the characters. Please stop nuking the characters. Literally, I will say it and I will say it again. It is always, the characters always get nuked because of some relationship issue with Aphmau. Like, that's what nukes Lawrence in the end. That's what nukes Garth in the end. I'm getting ahead of myself. So they make their way to Picaro Village, and then Aphmau tells Lucinda her story for the, like, 1 billionth time, and Lucinda's like, wow, that's crazy. And then Aphmau's like, oh yeah, I met your mom. After literally Hyria is Lucinda's mom. After Hyria was like, don't tell my daughter about me, she wants to know nothing about me, and Lucinda's like, okay. And you know it's because Aphmau loves a drama, okay? Aphmau loves a tea, loves a drama. So now we actually get some Lucinda lore, just a little bit, and then we learn the same information later, but a little bit more. I don't know. So basically, Lucinda, you know, she came back to Picaro Village, and then the people weren't so, like, happy about her coming back, so she was like, okay, let me prove myself. I'm a good witch, not a bad witch. So then she started going around, like, capturing, like, bandits and arresting them, and everyone's like, all right, this person's actually pretty cool. I actually vibe with this person quite a bit. And then she met this guy, a warlock named, was it Ivan, I think? We'll find out later in my notes, okay? So she later has a boyfriend, and then he's like, yo, I also want that mission. I also want the stigma around warlocks and witches to go away. But in actuality, he was trying to steal Lucinda's powers and was slowly sucking her powers from her. And then she was like, hey, stop that. She ends up killing his physical form, but then he curses the surrounding area. And that's why there's snow everywhere, and that's why the landscape is different. And then Aphmau then asks Lucinda if she will join the Phoenix Alliance, and Lucinda's like, I don't know about that one, Chief, because I'm actually not the lord of this village. The lord of this village is this teenage girl named Haley. But, like, in the middle of this conversation, some Picaro Village guards storm in, and they're like, Lucinda, a mother and a child went missing. And Lucinda's like, oh crap. So then she runs to Lord Haley's office. Episode 55, Lucinda's apprentice. So Lucinda was like, heads up, Aphmau, heads up. She gets a little angry and a little defensive. And Aphmau's like, well, that's not very lord-like of her. Okay, Aphmau, we can't all be perfect little princesses, okay? Sometimes people get angry. We can't all be like, well, she gets angry in this season quite a bit. But we can't all be perfect princesses, okay? We have flaws. And I get that you don't, but we do. Anyways, so they go into her, Lord Haley's office, and Haley's like, Lucinda, I fucked up big time. Lucinda's like, yeah, no shit, what happened? And then she was like, okay, so I wasn't able to control the spirit of Ivan. And Lucinda's like, why didn't you come and get me? And she's like, okay, I wanted to prove I could do it myself. And Lucinda's like, you are so dumb and so stupid. We need to go get this mother and child. And then Haley cries. And then she storms out to go talk to the husband to see where they were last, the mother and the child. So then Haley kind of talks about her origin story a bit and how she hates humans. And then she stumbled upon Lucinda. And then Lucinda was like, actually, humans can be kind of cool. And she was like, oh my God, Haley's literally right next to her. And then after like working with Lucinda for a while, she learns that Lucinda is half human. And she's like, Lucinda is one of the most powerful witches I've ever met. And she's not even a full witch. I literally can't imagine how powerful she would be if she was a full witch. Yeah, and then Aphmau's like, oh, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Aphmau. And then Haley's like, you're Aphmau? Oh my God, I've heard so much about you. And Aphmau's like, what? And then she's like, okay, well, I haven't actually heard that much about you. Okay, I didn't know your name. However, Lucinda always talked really fondly of a human, and I'm assuming it's you. Because you're a human she likes. And Aphmau's like, okay. Haley then explains more about the Ivan situation. She basically kind of re-explains what Lucinda said, but then what she adds on is that the essence of Ivan is constantly looking for like a human form to be in. And so Lucinda and Haley have been keeping him like tamed and down, so he hasn't had enough energy for his essence to kind of like go into another person. And the reason that Lucinda is freaking out about this mother and child missing is, one, there's a mother and child missing, but two, Ivan can use one of their forms if it like is a match. I guess it's kind of like a kidney transplant, like if it's a match. I don't know. He can go into the body and control that body and basically like come back alive and will have all his powers, and he will destroy everyone, including Lucinda. Aphmau and Lucinda run into the snow to try and find them, and then Aphmau finds a baby. A baby's just vibing inside a cave, and then Lucinda screams. Aphmau's like, okay, baby, stay here. I'll be right back. And then she runs up, immediately gets frozen. Lucinda's frozen up there. And then all of Aphmau's stuff gets taken away. And then Ivan's like, you guys are so dumb and so stupid. I have become more powerful because of the shadow souls, because there are a lot of shadow souls around. And then that energy feeding off them has been able to make my essence stronger. And now I can take over this area. So then Travis, because Travis was actually eavesdropping on the both of them this entire time, Travis comes over, that's Demon Warlock, Travis comes over with his book, his little booky tome, his booky tome thing, and puts the essence of Ivan in there, and he's like, rad, okay, Aphmau, I need your help for this second part, I need your help to banish him from this land. And Aphmau's like, sick, cool. I forgot to say this in the video, but this is a video clip I just wanted to include because it really made me sad while I was watching it, and I don't know how I forgot to mention it, but yeah, I'm just gonna include it and it'll make everyone really sad.
Hey guys! Before we begin this episode of Minecraft Diaries, I wanted to make a quick announcement. Minecraft Diaries has been coming out on my channel every other day for about a year now. However, from this point forward, we will be switching Minecraft Diaries to a 3-day cycle, meaning it will come out every third day with 2 other videos being between each episode of Minecraft Diaries. Plus, it seems like you guys are also enjoying our other series, such as My Street and the minigames that we play, and we wanted to give them some more spotlight. Do not worry, Minecraft Diaries is not going anywhere and it will be going on for a very long time. We just wanted to let you guys know about this, and without further ado, we hope you enjoy this episode of Minecraft Diaries.
Okay, that's it. Back to the video. Okay, episode 56, Aphmau's Trust. So, they get rid of the cursed land, Aphmau passes out, Aaron and Lawrence come running by. Aaron, holds Aphmau and is like, oh my god, and then Lawrence turns into a Shadow Knight form, and basically they take Travis prisoner. So then Aphmau wakes up, and then Haley's like, oh my god, you're awake, we all thought you died. And then she was like, no, I'm fine. And she's like, no, like, dude, you were really close to dying, like really close to dying. And she was like, well, I'm fine now. And she's like, well, Travis could kill you. And she's like, nuh-uh, no, he didn't. I, like, volunteered to help him. Like, he did not try and kill me. And then Haley explains that, like, very very rarely can people survive exiling a warlock's essence, essentially. Like banishing a warlock or whatever. Very rarely do people survive that. And Travis obviously knew that, and that's why he asked for your help. So he tried to kill you. And she's like, nuh-uh. No, nuh-uh, not attempted murder. So then Ahmad's like, okay, I gotta go talk to these people. And then before she leaves, Haley's like, yo, like, what are you? What are you, man? Like, what are you? And she's like, I don't know. And then walks away. Maou heads to the holding cell, and for some reason, it is inside of a church. Beats me, man. Beats me. But it is inside of a church. And so she sees Lucinda, and she's like, yo, Lucinda, what happened? And then Lucinda's like, you know what? You can go talk to Travis, and then whatever you decide is best is what his punishment will be. So Maou's like, okay. So then Maou goes to talk to Travis as he's in a jail cell, and he's like, I'm sorry. He was like, I didn't try to kill you, but I'm sorry because I knew it would be fatal to do that because his mom died doing that exact thing to the demon warlock. Like, that's literally why his mom is dead. And Travis was like, I was a coward because I knew I wasn't powerful enough to do it. But, like, I could just sense that you were, and I actually put the brunt of the work onto you. You absorbed most of this. I did not. I did not use a lot of my powers. And for that, I am sorry. I should have given you a heads up, but I was a coward. But he was like, I, like, knew you wouldn't die, though, because there's just, like, something about you that, like, feels familiar. I don't know what it is, but it just, like, feels familiar. And I, like, had a lot of faith you wouldn't die, so it is what it is, man. And then Travis is just like, I've always felt this emptiness because I'm the son of the demon warlock. But when I'm around you, the emptiness feels larger. Girl, what? Why would you say that to somebody? If someone told me that, I think I would cry a little inside. If someone was like, I have this emptiness inside of me, and then when I'm around you, it just feels larger. You make me feel worse. I'd be like, why did you tell me that? That's just a crazy thing to say. So Maou's like, no, let's not punish Travis. Travis is chill. Travis is fine. And Lucinda's like, all right, yeah, he does seem pretty chill. And then Lucinda's like, yo, I am sorry for doing this to you. If you need anything, let me know. And he was like, anything you say. And then she's like, yeah, what do you want? And he's like, a little kiss. And then Maou's like, what the heck? And Lucinda's like, I'll think about it. And Travis is like, oh, really? And she's like, psych, no. Episode 57, Sights of Picaro. So Lucinda's all hyped because she's like, dude, I never thought I'd be able to leave because the only reason she was staying in Picaro Village was because of, she felt bad that her boyfriend basically cursed the entire land. And that she was, like, felt responsible for that. So Maou and Aaron have another, deep conversation. I don't think there's any chemistry in any of these conversations that they ever have. I think later in the series, obviously they have chemistry later in the series, but I just feel like a lot of these conversations are just like, a lot of them are just, it's one note. They're talking about the same thing over and over again. Aaron has literally no personality, and it's like, yes, he is shy, but it's just, I don't know. I just personally have never gotten that. They just don't have chemistry when they talk, okay? But to be fair, I just think Aaron probably doesn't have chemistry with anyone he talks to because he's awkward and quiet. So then, Maou's like, should I invite Lucinda? Yes, Maou, you should invite Lucinda. So then Maou invites Lucinda. Maou sees Lawrence and Isabel standing in a field. And then, like, Isabel's like, thanks for saving me, bruh. And he's like, yeah, no problem. But I'm really sorry you had to see me like that. Like, that was just, like, really irresponsible. I didn't mean to scare you. And she's like, no, I know what you are. A vampire. No. Twilight. Sorry. Anyways, so if like you remember last season, there was a Shadow Knight in Picaro Village. It was like that sweet old lady of the innkeep's wife, and she was like, there was like this old lady that like was a shadow knight, but then, like, once her husband died, she, like, went crazy, and we had to kind of get rid of her. It's like, Isabel, that is such a sad story. But then Isabel's like, take me with you. And then Lawrence is like, what? And she's like, take me with you. I do not want to be here. I do not like my parents. I do not like Picaro. I do not like this village. Take me with you to wherever you're going. He's like, I'm sorry if you got the wrong impression, but I do not feel that way about you. And she's like, what? No. I just hate it here, and I want to go with you guys, and I want to help you because you guys are cool and awesome. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll go ask people. So Lawrence leaves, and then he sees Aphmau, and he's like, ooh, how does it feel to be caught on the other side of this conversation? And then she's like, whatever. Yes, Isabel can come with us. That's the end of that conversation. So Aphmau goes to find Travis, and Travis is at Lucinda's house because Lucinda wants to look at his tome. And then Aphmau's like, what are you doing here? And he was like, and Travis is like, well, I'm here because I want to look at Lucinda's stuff, but also she wants to look at my tome. And then he's like, girl, it only opens for me. And she's like, well, I only want to look on the outside of it. And he was like, oh, okay, that's chill. You can do that because you can't look inside it. That's impossible. And then he's like, yeah, so I'm going to go to the tavern now to go look at some hot ladies. See you guys later. And then he leaves. Y'all see this cowlick in the back of my hair? God damn. Episode 58. Goodbye, Picaro. Oh my god. This, I can tell this is going to be, maybe I'll get it to, maybe it'll only be 3 hours. The last one I recorded was like 5 hours, and I cut it down so much. Anyways, episode 58. Goodbye, Picaro. So it opens up with everyone sparring, and then after Travis gets his butt kicked, he accidentally says that he has, like, a lot more forms that are more powerful. And everyone's like, can you show us? And he's like, no. I'm just, like, really reserved. And I just can't, like, I'm just not like that. And I was like, reserved? Girl, you tried to touch my butt. And then Lawrence is like, what? And he was like, no, I didn't. Aaron's like, you did. I saw it. And then he was like, you choose to speak now? You have a voice now. You're choosing to speak now. And then Lawrence is like, how would you feel if I touched your butt? And he's like, dude, I'm not into that. Like, that's chill. I'm chill with that. But I'm not into that. And Lawrence is like, no. No. Not like that. If I had to touch anybody's butt, the first butt would be Aphmau's. Aphmau's like, what? And then Travis is like, you are digging yourself into a grave. And then Lawrence charges at Travis. And then Travis sees Lucinda and goes, Lucinda, help me. Lucinda knocks him out. Then he says, I'll go back to sparring, but let me finish looking up Lucinda's skirt first. What I can't stand about Travis, I think a womanizer character is funny. I think it is hilarious if it's done correctly. I do not think Travis's character is done correctly. I think Lawrence's character in the beginning was really funny. Frankly, I thought it was really funny. But he wasn't a pervert. Travis is a pervert. You know who he reminds me of? I haven't watched Inuyasha in a while. Frankly, since, like, middle school. Maybe the beginning of high school. But he reminds me of that, like, monk with, like, the hand, like, with the like, hands, like, the black hole hand. Isn't he, like, the same way? I don't know. I was thinking about that just now. Aphmau and Aaron have a little conversation. Honestly, it's like, I say they have conversation, and I'm just bringing that up to show that they talk, and that, like, he is the only person that she is the only person he will talk to. Oh my god, words can't come out of my mouth. And that's why I'm saying that. However, nothing they say is of importance. I personally don't think anything that comes out of any of their conversations are important until, like, near the end of season 2. And I get it. People are awkward. That is a character flaw that Aaron has. And I'm glad Aaron has a character flaw. But it's just a little weird for dialogue. Don't hate me. Okay, don't hate me. I know I'm going to get those comments being like, I love Aaron. I've never been an Aaron fan. I'll say it. I've never been an Aaron fan before. Don't kill me. So in Aphmau, before they leave, she goes to talk to Lord Haley, and she's like, Lord Haley, will you join the Phoenix Alliance? And she was like, yeah, I'll join the Phoenix Alliance. And I was like, yay. So Lucinda goes to Aphmau and is like, dude, I was able to open Travis's book for a few minutes. Not a few minutes, 1 minute. I was able to open the book for a minute, and I saw 2 pages. One was about Irene, and then the other was a map to an island talking about Irene. So we need to go to talk to Travis about this because, like, You want to know more about Irene? This mentions Irene. We need to go talk to him. There's that. They go back to the village. They get back to Phoenix Drop, and then Dante's like, yo, dude, there's a witch at the front gate asking for you. And then Aphma's like, a witch? And then she gets there, and it's Hyria. Drama mama. Episode 59, Mother and Daughter. So Lucinda runs over and attacks her and knocks her to the ground. This poor old frail lady. She knocks her to the ground and like storms off. And then Aphma's like, yo, what the frick, Lucinda? She's an old lady and your mom. And Lucinda's like, I don't have time for this. She's not worth my time. Peace out, Girl Scout. I'm leaving. And then she storms off. Aphma asks Hyria why she's here. And then she's like, the trees told me to be here. They told me to come here and hang out with you, Aphma. Aphma's literally like, girl, I just got back. Like, how did you know? How did the trees tell you? And she's like, I don't know, fate or something. I'm tired now because my daughter knocked me on the ground. I'm going to go take a little resty. So then she takes a rest. So then Dante's like, I'm really worried about, Lucinda because, like, we can't have an angry witch walking around the village like that. And Aphma, like, kind of explains the situation. She's like, no, like, Lucinda just thinks that, like, Hyria abandoned her. And then Dante's like, I know what that's like. I've been in that situation. Dante, you were on the other end of that. Okay? You don't understand, Lucinda. You were on the other side of that conversation. So Aphmau sees Lawrence at Ernger's grave, and then Chad runs over, and Chad's like, Aphmau. And then Aphmau's like, oh my god, dude, shut the fuck up. What do you want? And he's like, I just thought I'd tell you, my experiment failed, but I'm gonna go try again. And, it exploded in my face. Bye. And then he runs away. So Caitlin is back from Scaleswind, and she tells Aphmau that Nicole is gathering forces. But also Nicole's like not fully worried because she's like, well, Okage must have done some damage to them. Am I right? I should have mentioned this. The way they got back, Lucinda teleported her house. I feel like I should have said that. That's how they got back so fast, is Lucinda teleported her house. That should have been said sooner. My bad. So Aphma finds Travis and Lucinda, and they're talking on a hill. And Travis is like, hey, beautiful baby girl, Lucy. What's wrong? And Lucinda's like, do not call me any of those things ever again. And she's like, unless you have parent issues, don't talk to me. And then he's literally just like, you don't know the half of it, dude. You don't know that half of it. But also, Lucinda knows that he's the son of the demon warlock, right? Am I crazy? But also, like, Travis talked about how his mom died banishing a demon. I don't know. I don't remember if Travis told Lucinda that he's the son of the demon warlock, but I know he probably told her that, yeah, I know that could have killed Aphmau. My mom died doing it. So, I don't know. Maybe Lucinda knows half. Maybe Lucinda does know half of it. Okay. Anyway, so Lucinda finally asks Travis about the map, and he's like, yeah, I'm curious about that too. I see that, and I haven't really looked into it. Hyria comes over, and she's like, oh my god, it's so cute to see a witch and a warlock getting together. I never see that. And then Lucinda's like, no, fuck you, gives Travis his tome back, and storms off. Hyria takes the tome from Travis, and she just flips through that thing. She's like, oh, yeah, you should go here. Go to this island. Go here. Okay, I'm leaving now. Goodbye. And then she walks away. Aphma runs after her, and she's like, dude, stop being so cryptic. Stop it. This is not productive at all. Just tell me why. And she's like, you're just not ready, Aphma. Irene didn't stop a war in a day. And then she leaves. But then Travis is always eavesdropping everywhere, so he hears the entire conversation. Episode 60, Training in the Woods. So it is an opening scene of Aphmau and Aaron sparring in the woods. He's completely shirtless. I've seen him wear a shirt once in this entire series, and it is when they were at Falcon Claw in the flashback when he was talking to his son before everybody died. Only time I've seen him ever wear a shirt before. Defeats Aphmau, and he's like, yo, your stance was off. Thinking about Garth again? And Afma's like, yeah, I am thinking about Garth again. And then he's like, well, you know, if, like, I know you want him back, but if he comes back, that also means Zayn's come back. And are you ready to deal with that? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, because dealing with that's killing him. And I don't think you're ready to deal with that. And she's like, and then he's like, maybe we should respect Garth's wishes. He sacrificed himself for everybody to leave. Maybe we should respect that sacrifice. Respect that sacrifice. It's his final request. And Afma's like, and then he's just like, and stop living in the past. And Afma's like, well, you know, your wife fucking died and you're still thinking about it. Afma was really inconsiderate, I feel, about people's deaths. Because I feel like she acts the same way with Caitlyn and Jeffrey. So he's like, well, yeah, so, like, I can't kill Zayn, so I know I need to move on, okay? I am aware of that. My life goal isn't to kill Zayn anymore, because I can't do that. I'm incapable of doing that. He's literally in another dimension. And then Aphma's like, why are you still here? And he's like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But I need to tell you something. But Travis comes over before he can say that something and interrupts them, like every conversation they have together. And he's like, all right, we're ready to set sail. Because they're getting ready to set sail to the Irene Island. And I was like, okay. And then he's just like, wait, hold on. I don't know if this boat's big enough for everybody. And I was like, oh. Okay. And then he's like, yeah, we shouldn't set sail, actually. Like, ignore everything I just said. And she's like, okay. And then she goes to talk to Lawrence about it, and Lawrence is all angry. He's like, what the heck, bro? We can't be holding off on this voyage, man. Like, we gotta be on our butts, on our shit. And then Chad runs over, and he's like, I might have something that'll be useful to you. So he runs into the woods. Aphmau follows him, and he's like, you know, thanks for putting up with this old man. Not many people do it. So I have this giant boat for you. That's what I've been making. Surprise. Surprise. And she's like, does it have a prison cell? And he's like, you bet your booty there's a prison cell in there. And she's like, oh my God. Amazing. Thank you, Chad. I knew we kept you around for a reason. Episode 61. Vlad's song. So Aphmau starts the episode with kind of like throwing a tantrum. She wakes up and she's just like, oh my God, I can't see Garth, blah, 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 blah. I can't see Garth, oh my God, ah. And then she starts yelling at Lawrence because he's like, it'll be okay. She's like, it's not okay. It's not okay. Lawrence, it's not okay. And then he like gives her hugs and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't be Garth. And I'm like, that kind of sucks. And then Aphmau's like, dude, you're acting super calm. That's crazy. Like, you calmed me down, and normally I'm the one calming you down. And he's like, yeah, I'm just, like, really in control of my emotions now. Are you, Lawrence? Are you in control of your emotions? Whatever. So Aphmau tells Lawrence that Vlad is Garth's brother, and Lawrence is like, what? And then she's like, I'm gonna go talk to Vlad because like I miss Garth and maybe talking to Vlad will make me feel better. So she's like on her way to go talk to Vlad, and then Caitlyn's like blowing chunks off the side of the boat because Caitlyn has seasickness. And I was like, you are on boats all the time. And she's like, not boat rides this long. I'm never on boat rides this long. And she's like, okay, because I guess I mean Caitlyn did have, you know, seasickness when they crashed on the Enki Island. But I just think it is funny because, like, she's a Jury of 9 member, and then, like, she's, like, just blowing chunks off the end. It's like, girl, you travel everywhere all the time. I don't know. Yeah, so she gets side quest before she can go talk to Vlad to see why, like, this trip is taking so long because it is not supposed to be taking this long. So Aphmau goes down some stairs, and it's Travis and Lucinda, and then Lucinda's yelling at Travis because Travis can't control the book because the book is like messing up the currents of the ocean. And Lucinda's like, well, dude, what the freak, like control it. And he's like, I can't control it. I need to be in my demon form, and I'm shy. I don't want to do that in front of you guys. I'm shy. And then Aphmau's like, I trust you, can't you trust us? And then he's like, I'm shy. Can you guys leave so I can transform into my demon form so we can get back on path, please? So then Aphmau takes Lucinda even more downstairs and is like, Lucinda, you need to calm down. Like, I get you're upset, but he has a past, you know? And then Lucinda's like, well, we all have pasts. And Aphmau's like, not all of us. And Lucinda's like, what? And then she's like, nothing. Lucinda asks Aphmau how long she's known Travis, and then she's like, I don't know, a month. And then Lucinda's like, that's just so strange because you two just like seem so compatible. So we finally see Isabel for the first time in a few episodes. Frankly, when I was writing this, I thought they completely forgot about her character, but because she like was not seen in Phoenix Drop when they got back, but she made it on the boat, guys. Isabel made it on the boat. We're all good. We're all Gucci. Good? I don't know. Aaron looks sad while he's on the boat, so Aphmau goes to talk to him, and she's like, what's wrong? And he's like, my son just really liked the ocean. So Vlad is on top of the boat, and he's playing his little ocarina. So Linkcore. Aphmau tells him that she sees Garth in his dreams, and that she wants to know more about his family, and he was like, well, okay. He was like, yeah, you know, I guess it was kind of chill. We had to learn politics at a young age, which, like, I didn't quite enjoy, nor did Garth. And I'm actually not Lord Garte's son, which is the lord of Okage. My mom actually had an affair because, like, Lord Garte got all mean, and she, like, was feeling lonely, and then Lord Garte, like, adopted me, but he never liked me. So I didn't actually have a fun childhood. I don't know why I said it was chill. I actually didn't have a fun childhood. And I was like, oh, okay. And then Vlad says that he feels like super close to Aphmau. And he said he feels that way because he like watched her a lot through his brother when he was like stalking Phoenix Drop. I don't know. Such a weird thing to say. Never mentioned again. And then Chad screams, land ho. They've reached land. Okay, cool. Now we're on episode 62. I'm going to take a break because I have to go to a meeting. Okay. Hey, if my hair's a mess, that's because I was pulling it out because the meeting I just had was atrocious. Anyways, episode 62, Jeweled Caverns. So the book obviously leads them to the wrong island because they were lost for hours on the sea. And, the book changed the currents, and that's why they're there. Travis is like, guys, I can normally keep it in check, but I'm just so shy because I can't turn into my demon form because I'm so shy to be a demon around people because I'm so ashamed about being a demon. So everyone needs to leave so that I can do this. I need to go into a private room and look at my book. Okay, bye. And then he like locks himself in a room. So something I'm not a fan of, something I was talking about earlier, is this has happened with every character, is every character to me is kind of the same person in the sense where they have like their silly goofy moments, but then they're like really serious and they switch back and forth. And I think the biggest people for that are Caitlin, Lawrence, and Travis. I feel like these guys transfer back and forth between being serious and silly like in an instant. And you know, I'm all for the silly goofiness because frankly during this period of season 2 I got really bored. Like, not gonna lie. Like, these episodes were a little brutal for me to get through. That was another reason I was taking so long. Is because just, like, the 60s, I didn't like them that much. And up until they got to the islands, I just could barely, I don't know. I was not having a good time. So Aphmau decides that she wants to explore the island. And so Lawrence, Caitlin, Vlad, and Chad and Aaron also decide to come along, and then they split up into 2 teams to explore the island. So it's Aphmau, Aaron, and Lawrence, and then it is Caitlin, Vlad, and Chad. The strangest group of people, if you ever ask me. That is such a strange group of people, but you know. But Caitlin is like, I don't want that. But like, Caitlin is so weird with Vlad because she's like, he just like reminds me so much of Jeffrey, and it makes me uncomfortable. But you know what? Whatever, Caitlin, you're stuck in a group with him. Like, literally, Aphmau knows that she's uncomfortable with Vlad, and she still is like, well, you're gonna go with Caitlin, Vlad. This is my gang. This is my crew, because I need to have that sexual tension in here, okay? So, rest in peace, Caitlyn, I guess. So as they're exploring, Lawrence falls into a cave inside of a hill, and it was in the middle of, an Eren and Aphmau conversation that always get interrupted. They always get interrupted. They're never able to say what they want to say to each other because it always gets interrupted so much. I don't know. It's like, I guess, a cute bit because they can never say what's really on their minds. But also it gets like to the point where it's like really annoying because it's every conversation. Anyways, so Eren and Aphmau are like, okay, we're gonna fall down the hole with you so we can all try and figure out a way out. And then they walk around in the cave a little bit more, and they stumble upon a wyvern cave. It's where all the wyverns are at. Lawrence is like, I don't want to be here because if you remember, Ungurth was basically exiled by the rest of his like brothers and sisters. So, we have Raven. Raven's massive now. Raven bulked up, guys. He was done cutting. He bulked up. But Raven says that Gareth's doing chill because his soul is still connected to Gareth. So it's like, Gareth's not dead, guys. Don't worry. But then Raven like turns around and Raven's like, oh my god, you guys have to see what I found. Turn around. It's a baby. It's this baby. It's Lilith Garnett. Which, I just said her name, but we don't know her name yet. She's not named until like next episode. But I said her name, so now we know her name. Oh well. Womp womp. Anyways, episode 63. The baby found by dragons. Girl, it's wyverns, not dragons. Do you guys think that wyverns get offended when they're called dragons, or are they dragons? Are wyverns a form of dragons? You know how a rectangle's a form of a square, but a square is not a rectangle? Is it that sort of situation? I don't know. Oh, I'm so dumb. Okay, anyways. So Eren takes off his shirt because of course he has to, because he has rock hard abs. And Aphmau needs to make sure that everyone knows that Eren is the sexiest character out of everybody. So he takes off his shirt and puts it around Lilith. And then Raven says that basically they found this baby on the shoreline because there was a boat of people and then the boat crashed. And then this baby somehow is the only person alive was this infant. The infant survived the crash. Eren is like, Aphmau, you have to hold the baby. The baby needs to be held by a mother. But Eren's holding the baby. And you know how important skin-to-skin contact is for bonding, guys. So Eren's already got that bonding covered. Okay. Yeah. When there's a new baby, skin-to-skin contact, you always got to do that. Even with the fathers. And Eren's on that because he knows, because he had a baby. So the baby's hungry, and there just so happens to be a cow in the cave. How freaking convenient is that? Which isn't how babies work. Babies cannot have cow's milk. They can have formula or breast milk. Do not give a baby cow's milk, okay? I think that's common sense to everybody, but just put it out there. Do not give babies cow milk. But anyways, so Raven's like, here, you should take the baby. And Aphmau's like, okay, I guess it's my baby now. So Aphmau's like, I want to hang out with the wyverns more. But then Raven's like, no, because we can't meddle in humans' lives. So basically what happened is Ungurth got kicked out because of this reason. Okay, so basically the reason Ungurth got kicked out, we learned this, and this is crazy. So essentially Ungurth was messing around with the humans, he was fucking with them. And then Raven's like, yo, you can't do that. That's against the policy. And then Ungurth's like, screw you, and then tries to eat Raven. And then Gareth just so happened to be there because somehow Gareth found these wyverns and basically smacked Ungurth on the nose and was like, bad, get out of here, bad. And then Raven's like, oh my god, I owe you my life now. So then Aphmau's like, Raven, but aren't you involved in human affairs? He's like, no, I send messages. That is not the same as what Ungurth was doing. Okay, I send messages. I'm just the messenger. Okay, you can't shoot the messenger. That was already gonna happen. And it's like, tell yourself that, buddy, because you also move people back and forth, and that just so happens to to impact people's lives. Like, Raven sends a message and is just like, hey guys, here's the message. What's going to happen if that person didn't get that message? Oh, the sun got covered by a cloud, so now it's dark in here. Oh, it's light again. Raven takes everybody down. Everyone rides Raven. Raven, that's kind of interfering with people. You don't think so? Anyways, so Raven takes everyone down to the shore. So episode 64, her name. So Lucinda gossips about Travis. And Aphma's like, Lucinda, I'm not going to partake in this gossip. Who are you? Who are you? You love gossip. Who are you kidding? You love gossip. Okay, we all love to gossip. You can't say, I don't like to gossip. You like to gossip. You just don't like getting in trouble for gossiping. But Aphma was just like, I'm sorry. I'm just so tired. The baby was keeping me and Aaron up all last night. And then Lucinda's like, so like, I've been meaning to ask you this. Is he like mute? So then Travis and Lawrence and Vlad decide to all explore the shoreline. I think they're going to go see if they can find Lilith's parents, because basically Raven said that he found her with the mom, but they're like, maybe we can find the dad or something. So they go off to do that. And then Aphmau calls Aaron's wife beautiful, and Aphmau knows what his wife looks like because of that flashback she had when she was in Falcon Claw. So that's how she knows what his wife looks like. And then Aaron kind of talks about how his wife wanted a daughter and that she never had one. But, now Aaron kind of has a daughter. So Aphmau was about to say the baby's name, but then she gets interrupted by Chad. Chad runs over because, again, that's how all their conversations happen before you can get to the climax of it. It turns out that Chad has found Ginger, but he needs Aphmau to come and get the ginger from the mountain because it's on top of the mountain. And then Aphmau's like, why don't you get it? I'm in the middle of something. Like, why don't you get it? And he's like, listen, I know I seem like a rambunctious old man, but that's in spirit. I am too old for cliffs. You must get it for me. And Aphmau's like, okay. So they go over to get the ginger, and then Raven flies over, and Raven's like, Aphmau, I have a gift for you that you need to give Lilith when she gets older. And then Aphmau's like, what is it? And it's a wyvern scale, which are very rare because wyverns like choose when they want to shed. So like scholars spend forever looking for wyvern scales, and now Aphmau just has one. Guess what, Raven? You're interfering with the life of Lilith. You're breaking your rule. Should you get exiled? Because you're breaking literally your rule. Because if that is such a rare artifact, she could sell that for $1 billion when she gets older. So it's like, you are interfering. You are such a freaking hypocrite. I mean, yes, you deserve to be executed or exiled because he tried to eat you. But you're a hypocrite, my guy. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyways, Aphmau's like, her name is Lily, and Aaron's like Lilith. But I think her middle name should be Garnett because I actually like that name better. Okay, so her name is Lilith Garnett. Episode 65, The Island Shore. So Caitlin is no longer blowing chunks because now she has her ginger, and Travis says that he finally has the right coordinates because he's finally able to keep the book under control. Lucinda points out that there is some magical presence coming from the island, but like not quite sure what it is yet. Like they're not sure what it is. And then, so Lucinda talks to Aphmau. That's not Lucinda. Lucinda talks to Aphmau about Aaron and how, like, they're working together to take care of this baby. And then Lucinda's like, oh my God, Aaron's, like, the father. That's crazy. And Aphmau's like, ew, gross. And then Lucinda's like, oh my God, is he the father of Malachi and Levin now? And Aphmau's like, ew, gross. Aaron? Psh, no. Then they get to the islands, and then the demon, I'm off screen, but the demon warlock appears, and he can only be seen by the magic users. So he can only be seen by, let's go, Lawrence, Vlad, Aphmau, Travis. They're the only ones that can see him. And no one else can. Because he doesn't have a physical form. He is his essence. And then the warlock's like, wow, I'm surprised you came out here after what happened all those years ago. And Aphmau's like, what happened all those years ago? So he's like, you don't remember? You're so dumb and stupid. Good luck. And then he's like, the island is being activated now, which is how I can have my spectrum form here. But what confuses me is he doesn't have that form anymore because Aphmau killed him and he's only an essence. But I guess the power from this island gave it back to him? I don't know. Who knows? Freaking I don't. Anyways, so he disappears, and that's the end of the episode. Episode 66, A Demon Son. So Lawrence didn't know that Travis was the son of the demon warlock. So obviously he gets really angry and he turns into his Shadow Knight form. And then he like has his sword up to no, he doesn't have his sword. He grabs Travis by the collar and is like, dude, you're the son of the demon warlock? And then Vlad is like, yo, take a chill pill, man. And he's like, but he's the son of the demon warlock. He's like, yo, let's go into the woods and meditate. Put him down. So then he puts him down. They go into the woods and meditate. Caitlin and Travis run into the woods to start setting up a camp. Lucinda runs on the ship to check on the people in there. And now it's just Aphmau and Aaron. So then they go to find Caitlin and Travis, and Aphmau then takes a little nappy nap because she's all sleepy and stuff. She wakes up, and then her, Vlad, and Chad go into the woods to kind of like adventure, which such a weird combo. I feel like these two are such a weird combo, and I feel like it's because they're not like major characters or like BC characters situations. So she's like, who do I pair these guys with? I can't pair Vlad with Lawrence all the time, so I'll pair him with Chad Augustine, Leopold III. The quiet. You know what? Outgoing, eccentric guy, quiet guy. Perfect friendship. That's how all my friendships are. Anyway, so Aphmau asks Vlad how Lawrence is doing, and he's like, not so good, bud. He's not doing that good. And then they're having like this super deep conversation, and then you can hear just Chad running in the background, which is good comedic relief. Okay, so like I was saying, these past few episodes have been hard for me to get through because there's been like kind of no comedy. It's all drama. Aphmau pants a lot in them for some reason, but Chad always brings the vibe up. Chad brings the vibe up for these episodes. He's the only thing that he's not the only thing that gets me through, but he pushes me through these episodes, guys. He pushes me through. Chad finds a destroyed village and he's like, oh my god, let's explore this new thing. And then he starts like putting ladders everywhere and they're like walking around. Aphmau finds like a weird sword and banner, which I don't know what divine warrior symbol it is, but it's one of them. Don't remember. Haven't watched it in 2 weeks. That episode. But it's one of the divine warrior symbols. She's like, whoa, what a weird symbol that is there. And then Travis finds Aphmau. Travis finds Aphmau and is like, dude, you need to come see this. And so then they go over to where Travis was like, come here, guys. And there's this huge cathedral. It's a city. It's not a town. It's not a village. It's a city. Everything's in ruins. It's crazy. It's huge. And honestly, it was like kind of jaw-dropping seeing it, like, honestly. So episode 67, The Ruins. So everyone's talking about what they should do, and then Travis and Lawrence are talking about different ways to pick up women for some reason. I don't know why. They go down in the ruins because Chad runs in there, and everyone's like, yo, Chad, get your ass back here. We don't know what's down there. So they all split up looking for him, and Caitlin and Aphmau go together. Travis and Vlad and Lawrence go together. Her and Caitlin talk a bit about nothing important. Really, honestly, I was bored, didn't pay that much attention. I don't think it had anything to do with anything. I'm gonna be so for real. Again, I was really bored through these episodes. Like, I feel bad saying that, but I think this was like a little lull in the series. It got better. Once it got better. The drama got crazy, but there's just not a lot going on right now. So they find Chad, and then he falls into a giant hole, and then they decide, we're gonna go head to that giant structure over there. And he's like, what? I want to go. And they're like, meet us there. And then so they get to the giant structure, and it's a chapel, and it looks exactly like the chapel that was in the Irene dimension, except this one's made out of stone instead of quartz. Anyways, episode 68, Ancient Secrets. So they head inside the chapel and look around. Aphmau and Lawrence fall into a hole. Aphmau falls on top of Lawrence. So this is Lawrence. I'm Aphmau, like this, because of course they had to fall on top of that. And then Caitlyn's like, oh my god, Aphmau, are you okay? And then Aphmau's like, yes, Caitlyn, thank you. And then Lawrence is just like, yo, aren't you gonna ask if I'm okay? And she's like, dude, you got a beautiful woman on top of you. Of course you're okay. That was funny. That was really funny. So they go deeper into the tunnel, and then they get this crazy cool mosaic that plays into the story later. Oh my god, I literally can't talk. And it's a mosaic of Lady Irene and like different figures, and they look at it and they notice like these weird symbols, and then they look to the side and they see a crypt. There's a crypt. There's a mosaic and there's a crypt. They're in someone's crypt. I would freak out. I would lose my bananas. I feel like they don't react enough to there being a dead body. Oh, did I mention a divine warrior's dead body? I feel like they don't react enough to figuring out there's a divine warrior's dead body in that room with them. I don't know. So then Chad stumbles upon Lawrence and Aphmau, and then they're like, Chad, look at this mosaic. Isn't this cool? Like, do you know anything about it? And he's like, I am a scientist, not an Irene historian. Okay, find someone else. And they're like, oh my god, Emmeline, we know an Irene historian. And it's like crazy that they didn't bring Emmeline along. Like, she's on her honeymoon, I'm pretty sure. I think like they don't establish she's on her honeymoon, I think, but then later they establish when they talk to Emmeline. Frankly, I think Emmeline would have loved this as a honeymoon. I think she would have enjoyed it more than her honeymoon. I'm gonna be so for real, but whatever, I don't know. Episode 69, the new village begins. So Aphmau asks Isabel if she can watch Lilith Garnett, and Isabel's like, absolutely, yes, I will. I love babies. I had like 12 siblings. I took care of all of them. It was amazing. I love babies. Of course, I'll take care of them. So Aphmau now has another person to raise her newly adopted child. Lovely. Isabel and Aphmau go to find the boys in the forest, and then they find, because they're building a house, and then they find shirtless Lawrence and Travis there, failing to build a house, and they're like, wow, this is really hard. And then Isabel like is about to go up talk to them. Aphmau's like, shh. Let's enjoy the show, actually. Who's the creep now, Aphmau? Guys, let's just not creep on people. Let's take a stand and not creep on people. Travis is going on about how this is so much work, and if he knew how much work it was going to be, he wouldn't have volunteered. And then Lawrence is like, well, if you don't know how to build, why did you? And he's like, do you know how much women love the buildery type men? Like, ladies find that so hot. And did you see everyone staring at me when I took off my shirt? And then Lawrence is like, I don't think one person looked at you, Travis. Like, I really don't. And he's like, we're so hot, I bet there's some ladies that are going to bounce on us in that bush over there. And then Isabel's like, Aphmau, are we bouncing on them? And Aphmau's like, no, I'm not going to. I mean, you can. And then Travis pops out in front of the bush and is like, oh my god, hi ladies. And then he's like, so you watching the show? And then Aphmau's like, yeah, we're watching a show of idiots not know how to build a house. Nice comeback. Very cool. Anyways, so Lawrence and Travis admit that they need help, and Travis goes, look at these hands. They're meant for holding hips, not hammers, which that is really funny. I'll admit, that is hilarious. So then Isabel is like, I'm uncomfortable. And then she runs back to the village. And then Caitlyn and Aphmau go to find Vlad. And he has a cute little garden. Vlad with like a cute little garden. Iconic. That makes sense. Like him having like a cute little Zen garden. That'd be cute. But anyways, so then after that, she goes talk to Aaron. And then before they can like say anything, Lucinda runs over and she's like, oh, am I interrupting something? And then Aphmau's like, no. And she's like, okay. Anyways, I have something probably way more important to say than what you were talking about, is that I made a portal to Phoenix Drop. And she's like, oh, goody. And here's the thing. This has been something they've been working on for a bit. I just didn't mention it because I was like, I'll just mention it when they're done. So now I'm mentioning it. They're done with the portal. So basically it's like this orb, and you like put your hand on the orb, and then it created this portal in Phoenix Drop, and you just go back and forth, which is pretty cool. Honestly, I feel like they should have that for every like village in the alliance. Like, I feel like it'd be really cool. Like, if, like, a town was invaded, they could just, like, escape and then break the orb. I don't know. Actually, that would be a really bad idea because then all the troops can get there. That's actually a really bad idea. Don't listen to me. There's a reason I'm not a military expert. I'm just a girl that talks about Minecraft roleplays online. Episode 70. Old Friends, New Village. So then they teleport to Phoenix Drop, and she runs into Malachi and Levin, and then she explains everything about the island and is like, hey, can you guys, like, help me out? And they're like, I don't know. And it's funny because they're still trying to get Phoenix Drop back on its feet, and it's like, dude, they're also preparing for war. What do you mean? Do you have they do have people. So they're like, go ask Yip. I'm sure he'd love to do it. Which is like so... Where's Yip? Where did I put him? Which is like so random, I feel, just to have like Yip out of all people. I guess they were like, we need to give him something to do. And that something is to establish an entire village. Anyways, and then they're like, oh, and go ask Zoe. And then she was like, but Zoe's important here. And they're like, dude, Zoe's been so depressed. I'm sure she'd love to go and help y'all out on your island. So she asks Yip, and then Yip's like, oh, heck yeah, I wanted a change of scenery. It's lame here. Poor Alexis. Poor Alexis. Poor. So then she goes to find Zoe, and she's like, Zoe, you want to come to the island with me? And Zoe's like, oh, heck yeah, I want to go to the island with you. So now Yip and Zoe are coming to the island. And then Aphmau's like explaining to Zoe how they need more help. And then Zoe's like, why don't you go ask Brendan? And Aphmau's like, oh, that is a great idea. So she goes and heads to Brendan's house. Something I find hilarious is, so Aphmau never returned his horses. And something that I thought was really funny is when they were like lending people out horses, Brendan was like, yeah, you know, we just have always had luck with people returning our horses. That's how like they're trained so well, is we just like give them to strangers and then they give them back to us. And Aphmau didn't give them back, but you know, horses in this universe apparently know. I don't know how smart horses are. I'm sure they're very intellectual, but the horses found their way back to Brendan's house, which happened when Aphmau stole Kawaii-chan's horse in season 1. Kimi-chan found her way back to Kawaii-chan, so I think Aphmau's just overall really irresponsible with horses. So then Brendan's like, oh, Aphmau, I really miss living in a community. You know, like, I like living out here and stuff, but and Aphmau's like, well, do I have a proposition for you? And then he's just like, oh, heck yeah, I'll come. And then he's like, oh, by the way, Issa had the baby. So Brendan is officially a father. Not Issa. I remember characters' names. Episode 71. To Scaleswind. And so this entire episode, Aphmau talks like she's out of breath, and we have already established, I don't like when she pants. Some people don't like when people breathe in their ears. I'm one of those people, dare I say. I don't like hearing panting in my ear. Like, you have a horse. Does she? Did she have a horse? I don't know. Either way, stop panting. It makes me uncomfortable. Sincerely, me. So Aphmau and Brendan head to Old Metelli, and then they run into Castor. And Castor is like, welcome to Chicken Telly. And Brendan's like, hey, Castor, you can have your house back. I'm leaving now. And Castor's like, oh, you're leaving? Goodbye, I guess. And then Brendan's like, okay, I'm going to go head to Phoenix Drop now and bring all my stuff there to prepare for going to the island. So she goes to Scaleswind, and then when she enters the gate, she sees Nicole. She sees Nicole and Kiki talking, and they're kind of having like a very civil adult conversation argument in the plaza. And then Nicole sees Aphmau, and she's like, oh, hey, Aphmau, what do you want? And then she's like, oh, hey, Nicole, so I know you're like also in the middle of preparing for war, but I'm like trying to build a new village right now, and do you have like people I can steal? And then Nicole's like, I can give you supplies, but I cannot give you people. And then she's like, okay, I need to run off now and go talk to guards. Oh, Cloud covered the window. Yikes, 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 yikes. Anyways, so Nicole's like, okay, I have to go off. Goodbye. Nicole leaves. Kiki says that she will go back with Aphmau to the island, and Aphmau's like, oh, really? And then Kiki's like, yeah, Scales One's getting, like, really overcrowded, which is crazy, because Nicole was just saying how she doesn't have people she can give Aphmau, but then oh my god, the Kiki wants to leave because it is getting really overcrowded, and she's like, yeah, I'll also bring all my animals. So they got carpenter, farmer, and then animal lady. Living lavish. So Aphmau goes back to Phoenix Drop, and she's panting even more. It's okay. Oh, I messed up my hair. So Zoe and Yip are waiting for Aphmau to head to the island, and then Alexis shows up. And Alexis is like, you didn't tell me you were leaving, Yip. And he's like, oh, I didn't think I had to. And she's like, of course you had to. Like, you don't think I'd care? I'm like your best friend, and you're not going to tell me you're going somewhere? And he's like, oh, honestly, I didn't think about it that way. Then they start insulting each other, and Aphmau's like, what the heck is happening? And Zoe's like, where's Zoe? Zoe's like, don't worry about it. They do this all the time. So then Alexis kisses him on the cheek and says, I'm going to be so much more stronger while you're away, and I'm going to beat you up. And then she runs off. And then Yip's like, why the hell did she give me a kiss? Is it a kiss of death? Yip's kind of funny. I kind of vibe with Yip. I think he is hilarious. So they walk through the portal, and then Aphmau is stopped by Dante and Nicole before she can go through. And they're like, wait, Aphmau. Wait, can you take Dimitri with you? And then Aphmau's like, what? And they're like, yeah, like, Nicole's like, so Scales One's like really overcrowded, which it's like, Nicole, you just said you couldn't let people go. Anyways, so she's like, Scales One's really overcrowded, and I think it'd be really good for Dimitri to like see a village rise from the ground so he can prepare to be the Lord of Scaleswind. And Dante's like, yeah, and Phoenix Drop is still, getting its stuff together, so I don't want him here. The mental gymnastics they do to get Dimitri to this island for some reason, beyond me. I don't know why they want him on the island so bad. So Aphmau says that she wants to go talk to Levin and Malachi, because even though she was about to leave without even talking to them, she wants to go talk to Levin and Malachi to tell them about their new sister. And Dante and Nicole are like, what? I didn't know you were pregnant. Who is the dad? And it's like, Dante, of course you didn't notice. You probably just thought she was getting fat. No, I'm just kidding. Aphmau's like, no. I adopted the baby. There is no father. It is me, my baby. I adopt baby. And they're like, oh, okay. And then Aphmau goes to tell Malachi and Levin. They start freaking out. And she's like, no, wait, I adopted baby. And it's like, well, maybe you should start off with that, Aphmau. Because I'm sorry, if I went up to people and I was like, hey, guys, I had a baby. I have a baby now. They're going to be like, oh, my God, when were you pregnant? Because I don't think people are going to assume that you just adopted another random baby, Aphmau. Episode 72, A Picnic with Lilith Garnett. So they go through the portal and head to the campsite where they have actually started to build houses. Lawrence reveals that Aaron is the one that has been leading the initiative to kind of like get the town on its feet, which is really cool. And Lawrence is like, I literally have never heard him talk in my entire life. And then he just started talking to me. That's freaking crazy. And Aphmau's like, well, where are they? And then Lawrence is like, oh, him and Lilith are in the woods. Aphmau goes to Aaron, and then Lawrence shows Zoe and Yip around. Apparently I don't know where Zoe and Yip are located. So then Aphmau goes to talk to Aaron, and Aaron's like, oh, your mother's here. And Aphmau's like, mother? What? And it's like, dude, you just went around telling everybody that you have a daughter. What do you mean, mother? What do you mean you're surprised that Aaron's calling you her mother? You just told everybody that you were her mother. That confused me. And then she calls Aaron the father, and he's like, and then Aphmau's like, oh, sorry, I forgot you had a dead child. And then he's like freaked out because he was like, I never thought anyone would call me a father again. Because dead child. I don't think Aphmau knows how to deal with dead people. she just keeps offending these guys over their dead loved ones. And it's like, come on. Come on, Aphmau. Aphmau starts freaking out about what's happening around the region. I forgot what leads up to that, but she just starts freaking out. And then Eren gives her a hot girl pep talk, which it's like, okay, Eren, slay. We love a good hot girl pep talk. He gives her a hot girl pep talk, and then Eren reveals that he was actually a lord of a village, and that he was the lord of Falconclaw. And that's why Eren is so good at leading people. But it's like, and then I'm assuming he's just like quiet and reserved after, you know, he accidentally killed his entire village. So I'm just assuming that's why. And then, as in character for every conversation they have, Zoe comes over and interrupts the conversation. Zoe's like, Aphmau, I can't believe you didn't tell me there was a freaking baby on this island. You know how much I love babies. So then she like goes up to Eren and is like, hello, my name is Zoe. It's nice to meet you, the father of the child. I have a lot of experience with babies. I raised Aphmau's 2 children, and gosh darn it, I will do a great job helping you out with this baby. And Aphmau's like, no, that's not. No, I feel like at this point she should like put a sign on Lilith or something that says, this is my adopted child, and no, me and Eren are not married. Episode 73, Dimitri's arrives. So Aphmau uses Aphmau's on another picnic with Lilith, and she reads her a book that she wrote, and it was like a book about her adventures, because let's be real, guys, I would love to be told these stories, because I am being told these stories, because it is a YouTube series I am watching online. I love this story. I hope she likes it too. Zoe says, hello, Lord Aphmau, and Aphmau's like, whoa, he haven't called me that in a while. And then Zoe refers to herself as an elf fairy. So it's finally been solved, guys. It's finally been solved. Because you remember when we first met Zoe, she was a fairy. But then all of a sudden, she's a Yggdrasil forest elf. It's been solved. Okay, she's both. Whoa, the long question. The question has finally been answered. Anyways, so Zoe and Isabel begin to fight over Lilith because they both love babies. And then Aphmau's like, you can both take care of her. Aphmau walks into the village because, you know, Isabel and Zoe are watching Lilith. And shirtless Eren is on the roof working with his hammer. He's building a roof. He's over here being a buildery guy. And you know how much Travis was talking about women love them buildery guys. So Aphmau's just like staring at him, and then Lawrence comes up, and Lawrence is like, hey girl, hey. And then like every second in the conversation, Aphmau is like looking at Eren. She's ogling at him. Stop. That is really disrespectful to do that. Stop it. Guys, let's not ogle at people. Then Dante and Dimitri show up, and Aphmau shows Dante and Dimitri around, because that was actually the reason Zoe went there, is to tell Aphmau that Dante and Dimitri are there. So Aphmau shows Dante and Dimitri around, and then Dimitri gets mad because he can't stay at the guard station. He has to stay with Isabel and Zoe. And then Caitlin, so then he runs to the woods, and then Caitlin, Dante and Aphmau go into the woods because Caitlin's there, and then Dimitri is cornered by an imp. So Dante's like, oh hell no, not my child. And then Dante like slays it, and Dimitri's like, oh my god, that was so cool. Can you show me how to do that? That's really freaking cool, Dad. Dad, can you please show me to do that? Dante, please. He like switches back and forth between Dad and Dante, which, you know, makes sense. And he's like, I want to do it. And Dante's like, well, that's an extremely hard maneuver. So I'll be able to show you one day, but you need to gain a little more skill than that right now, son. But yeah, and then Dante's kind of like a little confused because he's like, Aphmau, I thought you said this place was safe. And then she's like, that is the first monster we have seen on this island. So then Dante's like, okay, cool, chill, and then leaves. Episode 74. Kiki arrives and Leona, and then they chit-chat. Leona learns that there's a full-blooded werewolf on the island. She's like, whoa, I have never met one of those before. And then also she learns what an ocean is. And then Kiki's like, okay, yeah, you can go play in the ocean. And she's like, oh, heck yeah, large body of water. And then runs off. And then Kiki kind of talks about how she was really overprotective with Leona because, you know, werewolf stigma. So Brendan runs into Kiki and then tells her that he got married and had a kid. And she's like, you got married to Issa, didn't tell anybody, and you had a kid and didn't tell anybody. And he's like, does right now count? She's like, no, right now doesn't count. She's like, I swear to God, if one more person doesn't tell me about a baby, I'm gonna freaking lose my mind. But, you know, Aphmau, like, doesn't pay attention to that comment. So then they're catching up, and then Aaron walks over, and he's like, hey, am I interrupting something? And Aphmau's like, I feel like I'm interrupting something. And he's like, who are these people? And then she's like, oh, that's Brendan and Kiki, they're brother and sister. And then he walks over, and he's like, hello, I'm Aaron. Nice to meet you both. If you need any help, come and find me. And then he goes back to Aphmau and is like, you want to train now? And then Aphmau's like, sure. Zoe and Isabel are watching Lilith. And then Kiki's like, who's Lilith? And then Aphmau's like, oh, my daughter. And then she's like, what? And she's like, yeah, she's our baby. And then her and Aaron run away. You're not breaking them rumors, Aphmau. So then they train, and Aphmau actually knocks Aaron on his butt. Then they start to have another deep conversation. Aphmau starts crying about Gareth, and honestly, nothing really comes from it. She just starts crying about Gareth. Yeah, and then they talk so much they didn't even notice it was getting dark outside. So Aaron's like, uh-oh, we can't see a path. We gotta wait until morning because they have their campfire. Aphmau, your brightness is all the way up. Your brightness is all the way up, girly pop. What are you doing? Anyway, so Aphmau falls asleep. And then it's now episode 75. Scholars of Irene. So Emmeline and Kenmer show up and start freaking out about the island. Emmeline is like, no one has even found or interacted with a temple of Lady Irene in like ever. Which I guess is different than like the modern churches and temples. I guess maybe she means like temples that Irene was a part of. I don't know. But she starts freaking out. And then Emmeline's like, I need to go get my things. Kenmer, we gotta go back and get my books. So then her and Kenmer go back to Phoenix Drop to get all of her books. So Caitlin and Dimitri are on the beach, kind of talking about how you need to be strong and you can't really rely on others. And then he kind of asks about witchcraft. And then Caitlin turns around and is like, Aphmau can answer that for you. Then she doesn't answer the question. I don't know. Strange. And then Dimitri says something and I forgot what he says, and then Caitlin's like, run laps, and he's like, what? And she's like, do it. And then he starts running laps, and it's kind of turned into Caitlin like being his like basically older mean sister. Like, you know, the old mean I've never experienced this, but you know that sister that's like really mean to you but like helps you and is like, and you're like, can I have it back? She's like, here, just do this, blah blah. I don't know, I don't have an older sister. But kind of like that. It's cute. It's a cute dynamic. So Yip runs over to Aphmau and is like, there's another werewolf on this island. I can sense it. And then Leona runs over and she's like, I found you. I finally found you. And Yip's like, oh my God, what? And she's like, you're the full-blooded werewolf. And he's like, are you the other werewolf? And then she's like, you're in my territory. And he's like, your territory? You're in my territory. And then they start arguing. And then he's like, why do you keep your tail and ears out? And she's like, it's an aesthetic choice. Okay, I like the way I look with my ears and tail out. Then they start arguing. And then Leona is like, I'm gonna claim territory more than you. And then Yip chases her and they run away. Then there is a little outro, like an outro, and basically it's like a cut to Aphmau talking about how it's the 1 year anniversary of Minecraft Diaries. That's crazy. That's crazy that it's 2 seasons. They're on, what did I just say? This was 75. And, like, that's crazy. And Aphmau talks about how she like, it was Minecraft Diaries every other freaking day, which is crazy. But as I mentioned earlier, which I forgot to mention, but I will be mentioning it in post, it is every 3-day cycle now. And, oh, that comment was so ironic about Minecraft Diaries isn't going anywhere for a long time. That's so ironic, so sad. But yeah, it's crazy how much it was able to evolve. I need to move my mic closer to my mouth. It's crazy how much it was able to evolve in 1 year. Like, if I were to look at that, I'd be like, 3 years. And listen, I'm one to talk. I have series on my YouTube that I've been doing, or gaming channel, for 3 years because I get busy and then get bored and busy and bored and busy. That's how this channel came about, is I got bored and then I got busy. Anyways, so episode 76, back to the temple. So Lawrence and Aphmau enter into a house, and Lawrence enters Aphmau's house, and she updates him on everything, I guess, that happened last episode. Issa shows off Dell, who's Brendan and her daughter, and as she's unpacking her stuff, the chicken shaman pops out. He runs off into the woods and calls it Chicken Island. Kenmure and Emmeline show up, and they're like, show me the temple. So then Aphmau's like, okay. And then they go to the temple to go look at the crypt. Then her, Lawrence, Kenmure, and Emmeline all go to the temple to lead them to the crypt. And Lawrence talks to Aphmau and has just been like, you've just been a little distant lately, and I'm just concerned. She's like, yeah, I am. And he's like, cool. Yeah, I just want to tell you you've been distant. Anyways, so they make it their way to the mosaic, and Emmeline's like freaking out. She's freaking out. The mosaic shows I'm reading this because I forgot. The mosaic shows the final fight between the divine warriors and the Shadow Lord. Emmeline says that she needs more time to look at the mosaic, and that if Aphmau comes back tomorrow, she can actually have all the answers she's looking for. Then Kenmure and Emmeline make out. There's a cut to Aphmau sleeping, and Garth is on the Skyblocks Island, and he's coughing, and he's grunting, and he's pale. But Aphmau's not in the Skyblocks world. No, wait, yes, she is in the Sky. I spoiled the next. Okay, episode 77, promise. So opens where we left off, and Aphmau is now also in the Skyblocks world, and she sees Garth, and she's like, oh my god, Garth, and she's like freaking out, and she's like, let me heal you, and then she like heals him, and he was like, 'tis only a flesh wound. He didn't say that. I said that. It's a reference to Monty Python. I love Monty Python. And he's like, Zane hit me, and Aphmau's like, what the hell? And it's because, okay, so when the demon warlock was talking about things getting activated, he was talking about the Irene dimension is now syncing up time-wise with the overworld. So Zane was able to hit Garth because time there had been speeding up. So then Garth warps away again. The whole thing confuses me. I'm confused, guys. My little brain can't wrap around it, okay? I'm an art student, goddammit. I don't understand things. I'm stupid. I have a BFA. I'm kidding. I'm not dumb, I swear. I'm not dumb. Anyways, okay, so, yeah, it's just confusing. I really need to know what's happening from Zane's POV, because it's like, he just keeps teleporting in and out really quick because of how time moves slower there. Like, time is still moving slower there. But now that's moving faster, he's gone for longer periods of time. I don't know if this... I'm going to stop talking about this because it really hurts my brain. So Aaron and Aphmau are on a picnic with the baby. Aaron is like, you okay? And she's like, I got a lot on my mind. And he's like, are you sure? And she's like, why are you asking me these questions? Why are you giving me the third degree, man? Like, what's going on? Like, why do you care? What's happening? He's like, because I care about you and I saw you disappear in the middle of the night. Context, they live together. And then Aaron is also like, you're my lord. I have to take care of you and I need to make sure you're okay. And Aphmau's like, whoa, I'm your lord? And he's like, okay, I actually don't know what we are. And Aphmau's like, okay. And then he gives her a little hug. It's cute. This is when I start seeing the chemistry, okay? Once they're together with Lilith Garnett, and that's because, like, obviously they're interacting more. Aaron's talking more, but this is where the chemistry starts to pump up, okay? It took a while, but we got there. We got to the chemistry, god damn it. We got there. Aphmau asks Aaron about him being a lord. The only thing, like, that he says in that conversation that really matters, I think, is him just being like, I never thought I'd care for someone again. And he kind of just keeps saying that. He keeps saying that in different ways. So Leona and Yip run over and are like, Kenmure and Emmeline are looking for you, Aphmau. Aphmau's like, Aaron, come with me. You can't see it, but I'm like kicking up my foot. Like, no, literally, I did it again and you can't see it. I don't know why I did it again. So episode 78. a divine discovery. They drop Lilith at Isabel and Zoe's house, and then Aphma's like, Zoe, I know you did not tell me everything in your notes about the Irene, like about opening the Irene portal. Like, I know you didn't tell me. Like, I know there's something out there you're not telling me. Because in your notes, it said you lose immortality and more. What is that more? Zoe breaks down, and she's like, it's a rare relic that can never be found again. The Moor was a rare relic that is found in the Yggdrasil forest. I can never go back because I stole it, and there only one pops up every, 1,000 years or something. And she gave her the notes because she wanted to give her hope that there was a way to get Garth out of there. But it's like, dude, that is worse. Is that not worse? Am I crazy? I would hate if someone gave me false hope. Like, I feel like giving someone false hope is worse than, giving them than telling them there is no hope. Because, you have your hopes up. Take a shot every time I say hope. You have your hopes up, and you're like, I can do it, I can figure it out, and then they're like, haha, JK, no. That's, heartbreaking. So then they go to the crypt, and Emmeline goes on a giant tangent about all of her theories, and none of them are 100%. Aphma's like, you said you would have it solved. And she was like, no, I didn't solve it, but I do have a bunch of theories. But then she says, okay, I have to read from this, because I'm not going to remember this. So she says that it shows the 5 divine warriors, including Irene, and she's the largest figure because she probably had something large to do with the end of the war. She believes that the island is a parallel to the Irene dimension and that she created the Irene dimension to fight battles and protect the world. So there is actually a divine warrior missing from this. And guess who it is? Shad. It's Shad. Shad is missing and his symbol is there, but it's above the Shadow Lord. And they believe Shad is actually the Shadow Lord. Guys, it's the Shad thing. We got back to it. I didn't think we ever did, but we did. We got to the Shad thing, guys. That's why Enki felt bad, is because that's the Shad thing. Shad is the Shadow Lord. It's in the name. We should have known the entire time. Also, his name's Strad the Destroyer. Anyways, so, yeah, Emmeline freaks out once they start talking about the book on Enki Island because Aphma's like, oh, the Shad thing. And Aphma's like, and then Emmeline's like, oh my god, Aphma, you should have brought that book here, man. You should have brought that book. And then she was like, I was the only one that was able to read it. And then goes on her whole Irene tangent about how Aphma is Irene. And then Aphma was like, if I was Irene, I'd be able to open the portal to her dimension, but I can't, so I'm not Irene. So stop saying I'm Irene. Ooh. Aaron's like, girl, calm down. Aphma, angry. I would be angry too. Dare I say, I'm not a big Zoe fan. There, I said it. Sue me. They talk about some confusion there was between symbols and stuff, and they reveal that the crypt is probably Kulzak's crypt, and that they can't open it, but since Aphma was able to kind of open Enki's book, that maybe she's able to open Kulzak's tomb, because Emmeline and Kenmure have been trying, but they haven't been able to get into it. So Aphma's like, alrighty, guess I'll try. So then she opens it, and then this orb thing comes out, and it's called a divine fragment, and it's I don't know how to describe it other than an orb thing that's called the divine fragment. Jesus, beats me, man. I don't know. That's all I can describe it as. And then Aphma starts to get excited because this could potentially be used to open the portal to the Irene dimension. Because Emmeline's like, yeah, probably could be used. We just need to find all of the fragments. Gotta catch them all. Episode 79. Oh my god, I thought this said it was only recording for 6 minutes. It's 1 hour and 6 minutes. Woo! Damn. Okay, so episode 79, the jury's bane. So more of the village is being built, and then Caitlin says that she has an agreement with Travis that he can help her if he doesn't flirt with people. I'm a little confused by that arrangement. I guess Travis just wants to be around Caitlin. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. Apparently, something Sasha had said had gotten to Caitlyn, and Caitlyn said nothing. Caitlyn was like, she said nothing new, but there was like a look in her eye when she was talking about stuff that like made me kind of freaked out. And it was like something about Lawrence. So Aphmau was like, okay, I'll go talk to Sasha then. So Sasha says, life would be better without emotion. Aphmau's like, what does that mean? And then she's like, you should ask Lawrence about it. And then she was like, what does that mean? And then Sasha's like, you were so freaking dense. Oh my God. And then literally doesn't elaborate. Sasha says that Lawrence comes down to talk to her a lot. And then Nietzsche says that Sasha's being mysterious because she's actually an attention whore, which I agree. Sasha, I think people should just not be cryptic with anything they say. Dare I say, let's get rid of being cryptic and just be straightforward. Aphmau goes to find Caitlyn, and Makai is there. Makai. Nietzsche's brother. Figured out his name, guys. By that, I mean I wrote it down next time he was mentioned. So take that. He tells Aphmau that the king of Tula is looking for Zane and the rest of the jury of 9, and that's like why they're in Okage. But they won't find him because he's not there. Ooh. Makai tells us a story how there was a beast. I have to read this from here because, again, it's a story. I want to get it right. So Makai tells us a story how there was this beast that was so powerful, even the best warriors of the Tula region couldn't even kill it. And it was just like they kept flinging good warriors at it, and like they all kept dying. And then there's like a bunch of filler. Caitlyn says that she actually knows that beast, and that beast's name was Janice the Silver Death, who was a member of the jury of 9. Crazy. He was always doing Zane's dirtiest work, and after the fall of the beast, that's when the king was like, all right guys, let's go invade Okage. Let's go do that. So that's how they got here. Again, it doesn't specifically say what they want with Zane and the jury of 9, but we learn later why. But right now, we don't know, because that's how stories are told. So Aphmau's like, okay, so we need to get Zane out of the Irene dimension as well, so we can figure out this whole thing. And then Makai asks Aphmau if it's okay for him and the other refugees to come to her island because, again, Scales Wind is getting really overcrowded, and they're like, we feel like a burden there. And she's like, yeah, okay, you can come and stay. So Aphmau's in her house with Aaron, who is shirtless, and she's looking out the window, and he's like, Aphmau, you're doing it again. Aaron asks Aphmau about her thoughts, and then she tells Aaron that she wants to get Zane out of the Irene dimension, and he's like, are you prepared for what that is going to bring? Because there's a high possibility that you could die, dude. Like, opening that portal, you could die, and then we have to deal with Zane. And then also, their beds are pushed together. Oh my god. Crazy. Anyways, Aphmau goes to sleep, and then Aaron takes the divine fragment and runs into the woods. Episode 80, The Refugees' Plight. So Aphmau's freaking out because she can't find the fragment, and she can't find Aaron, and she's like freaking out because like this makes no sense. Why would Aaron take the fragment? Like, this makes absolutely no sense. So Malachi comes through the portal, and he's like, hey guys, I have really bad news. Those refugees, yeah, they got attacked by Tula. Can you please come and help? And I was like, okay, they're looking for Aaron and the divine relic, but fragment, but let's go help these people. Everyone in the village like basically goes to help them, and it's like, okay, like 2 of you could stay behind to try and find Aaron, which like is irrelevant because Aaron is not on the island, but like they don't know that. Anyways, so Aphmau goes to the gates to talk to Makai, like the Phoenix drop gates, and he explains what happened and how it seems like they were there waiting for them. Then there's this icon, this legend. She is on the top of the gates laughing, and Makai's like, girl, what are you doing? Are you laughing at my people's misery right now? And she's like, kinda. And he's like, who are you? And she's like, oh, you don't know who I am, but I've been watching you for quite a while, Makai. So Caitlyn is like, I know you. She is Ivy, the Venom Scythe, who is an old Jury of 9 member. Ivy's like, oh my God, it's been so long since someone's called me that. No way. Caitlin? I haven't seen you in 15 years. So apparently the sword she has is Janice the Silver Death swords. And Caitlin's like, how did you get that? Because the only way he wouldn't have it is if he was dead, which has already been established. So, little slow there, Caitlin. You were there for that entire conversation. She says that she got it, though, from her new employer, the king of the Tula region. So Ivy now is working for the king of the Tula region. Caitlin's like, fight me, because Ivy's talking smack about Jeffrey. So then they fight, but then she knocks Caitlin out, and then Ivy leaves. She's an icon. I don't know why. I love her character, and I love the way her plot ends. It is so funny. So episode 81, his choice. So Caitlin is laying in the guard tree tower, knocked out, and Aphmau tries to heal her, but her powers aren't working for some reason. So Caitlin wakes up and is like, it's fine, I'm just an idiot. Travis runs over and he's like, oh my God, Caitlin, I'm so glad you're okay. I don't know what I would do without you if you died, Caitlin. And then he goes, is your butt okay? Travis. And then he talks about how he would be shattered if he lost her. And he's like, who did this to you? And she's like, her name is Ivy. And he's like, oh, so it's Ivy. Is she? And then Aphmau hits him. Caitlin talks about how Ivy just became a member because she liked to be above the law. So, you know how like Jeffrey and her were getting blackmailed. She wanted to be a member just like Janice because she just was like, she likes to see people miserable, essentially. So she has no loyalties to Zane. So that's why she's working for the king of Tula, because there's no rules. She can literally do whatever she wants. She says that she's like been able to fight Ivy before, and she wins like basically every time they fight. But there was something different about her while they were fighting that just like didn't seem right, because she just like basically KO'd her immediately. And then there's a big bang at the refugee camp, and oh my God, Gareth is back. But Gareth is holding Aaron's bandana. Then we get a flashback to what actually happened when Aaron took the divine fragment. So basically he takes it, he kisses Aphmau goodbye, and he actually has another relic. So then he goes to the Irene portal. He puts the two relics together. It opens the portal. He's covered in, oh my God, what's it called? The emptiness. You know, that like black and purple stuff? He's covered in it. And then Zane's about to kill Gareth. And then Aaron comes over, fights him, and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? And he's just like, I'm here to end you, bitch. And then they end up back into the overworld. Yeah, Aaron breaks Zane's relic, and then he has another relic that's gonna suck Zane's soul out. And then Zane's like, if you do this, we both die. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then they both die and explode. And then Aphmau screams, like, oh my gosh, she screams bloody murder. My volume was all the way up on my TV, and my whole house heard Aphmau screaming. Honestly, it was a really good scream, though. Like, honestly, like, I believed it. That is a good scream. She is getting better at voice acting. If she just stopped the goddamn panting, I would give her props for being good at voice acting. I would. I really would. Okay, so it is the next day. I decided to take a little break and eat lunch. Then I got sleepy, went to bed at 3, woke up at 8 p.m. and was like, oh, that's great. I can't record because I'm using the natural sunlight. So yeah, then I was welcomed back to when I tried recording my webcam lagging. And I really hope it's not lagging. I hope I'm just like hyper aware of FPS now from staring at myself for so long. But we are where we are, and I'm finishing this today because I am moving out tomorrow. So let's get started. Episode 82, Her Grief. Okay, so it opens up with Gareth building docks or something. I don't know why. The explosion didn't impact the docks. But we learned that it has been 1 week, and then Caitlin goes into Aphmau's house, and Caitlin is like, I've brought you some tea. But here's the thing, Caitlin has a voice actress now, but then there's also text, and frankly, I don't like that. I think it is annoying. Why are both there? I think like the voice acting was added later, and the voice acting I guess makes sense for some of it because it does change POV not in this episode, in a later episode. But I just found it really annoying, and they only do it, like, I think this time, and then for Garth, and that's it. So I don't know what was up with that. The consistency with that was really weird and really strange. I didn't like it. I was scared. But it's okay now. But anyways, so Caitlin is like, Maou, I'm so sorry that Aaron's dead. I know how much he mean to you. Like, he just saw what we couldn't see. You know, like, he was there. Like, we didn't know you were hurting, but he knew you were hurting. So I don't understand why he freaking left you. And Mau's like, stop it. And it's like, I don't think anyone knows how to handle people that are grieving in this series, because, you know, maybe this is payback from Caitlin for all those times that Maou has made her basically cry while talking about Jeffrey. That's all I'm saying. Maybe she meant to make Maou mad. I don't know. But anyways, she's like, I know what you're going through, because I went through that with Jeffrey. So if you need help, I'm here for you. And it's like, Caitlin, situation's a little different. Definitely a little different. Not in the sense that someone close died, in the sense of it's a little different. I can't wink very well. So then we get a flashback to when the explosion had happened. Maou, after she screamed, she passed out. Garth was like, uh-oh. And then Dante runs over, and Dante's like, is everyone okay? Is everyone okay? And then Garth's like, no. And he's like, is everyone okay? And Garth's like, no. Garth says no multiple times. And he's like, oh my God, Garth, what are you doing here? And then it cuts back to Maou. No, sorry, it doesn't cut back to Maou. It cuts to Garth. And then Garth says that he's like crazy guilt for what happened, because let's all be real. Yeah, I would feel pretty guilty about that. But anyway, so he hasn't talked to Maou, and I don't know if that, like, makes the situation worse. Like, you've been avoiding her for a week after one of her close friends kills himself to get you back, and you're just avoiding her. Something about that feels like rubbing salt in a wound. And then squeezing a little lemon in there. And maybe also putting some baking soda and vinegar. Puff up. I don't know if that's a saying. I know salt in the wound is, but baking soda and vinegar in the wound, I don't know. It's a saying now because I said it. But yeah, I don't know. And then there's a flashback to the past, like from season 1. That didn't actually happen, but it's kind of like a cutscene between Maou and Gareth talking about when Xenix attacked the village and how Maou was like, Gareth, everything will be okay. None of this is your fault. And haha, your helmet is gone. So it's like that far back when Xenix attacked and his helmet got defeated. I think I'm hopped up on too much caffeine right now. So episode 83, Ivy and the Wolf. So Garth decides he's gonna go to Mau's house, and he talks to her through the door, and he's like, I need to talk to you. Meet me at the pit, you know, where your friend died. Girl, that is a terrible place to meet with somebody. Terrible. Oh my God, if one of my friends died, I would not want to go to the location where they died. Why would you think that's a good idea? Why? I don't know. Anyways, they finna be in the pit. Just kidding. Okay, they're not in the pit. They're on the side, but I had to say the meme. Okay, I could not say it. So Zoe appears, and there's no more voice acting, which I can get behind voice acting when it's necessary. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes in Minecraft roleplays it's necessary. But I like a little charm to it. And there's just something about a little charm of Maou voice acting every single person. It's like My Story animated, where I just think there's more charm when that one voice actress acts as every single character. And then when they add more people, and I'm like, I thought this was just me and you, babe. Why are there more people here? I thought this was just me and you. And then Zoe, so she comes in and she's like, wow, Maou, you look really pretty. Besides those bags under your fucking eyes. Zoe! What is wrong with you? Just say she looks pretty. Don't point out the bags under her eyes, okay? I don't want the bags pointed out under my eyes because I woke up an hour ago, okay? So don't, and one of my friends didn't even die, and I would be offended. So imagine how she feels. My friend just died, and now you're saying I look tired and disgusting. Thanks, Zoe. Thanks. Okay, whatever. So Zoe's like, does Lilith know? The baby? Does Lilith, the baby, know what happened? Aphma's like, yeah, the baby does know what happened. How old is she? How old? 2? I guess I have memories from when I was 2. I think I talked about this last episode. Call me advanced. I have memories from when I was 2. One of them was my dad choking on cereal, and then the ambulance had to be called. I don't think he was choking on cereal. I think it was probably something way worse than that. Aphmau goes to the pit to go see Garth. So now that they're back at the pit and the voice acting is back, and I'm back to what I say. I need that old Minecraft Diaries Season 1 charm where Aphmau voiced literally every single thing in there ever. But that's besides the point. I'm picky and judgy, and that's why we're here, because I am picky and judgy, and we're judging Minecraft Diaries Season 2. So Garth goes on this entire, monologue that I honestly didn't really pay attention to because I got bored. Because I have the attention span of a walnut. And, no, the brain, I don't know. And then Ivy shows up, and Ivy is, laughing. And she's with some random dude who's not on the wall because he's brought up, 2 times. So she shows up with this guy, and then Aphmau and Garth are like, oh, my God. And then Ivy's just like, wow, it looks like you had some fun here. Hi, Aphmau. You're coming with me. And Aphmau's like, no way. So she turns into her Irene form, and then Ivy's like, oop, this is gonna be fun. And then, so Garth tries to charge at Ivy, but then the other guy, his name's Gavin? He's a werewolf, but they don't mention that. They only mention that in the title, and then I think, once, a few episodes later. But Gavin is a werewolf, and so him and Gavin are they're facing off. And then so Aphmau and Ivy are facing off, and then Ivy defeats Aphmau, but then Vlad comes over in his Shadow Knight form, defeats Gavin, and then Ivy's like, let's get out of here. And then Gavin was like, those are my favorite words, and then they walk away because they're really scared of Vlad for some reason. And then Aphmau's like, oh my God, Vlad, where have you been? We haven't seen you forever. And he's like, I was missing because I was worried about Lawrence because he's been missing for so long. Because again, we have not seen Lawrence in I don't know how many episodes because I wasn't really paying attention, because literally they've trickled his character. He was trickled out so much. It's crazy that I didn't even notice he was gone until it actually gets brought up. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. Who knows? I don't. Anyways, so yeah, he says he thinks Lawrence is in trouble. Episode 84, Always With You. So Vlad says that he's been with Lawrence and that he has been he's been spying on Lawrence. And he says that the Nether has been calling to him. And then this is when we learn about something called the Calling. And the Calling is something that happens to every Shadow Knight, where the Nether is singing its little siren song and tempting him to come back. And this happens to every Shadow Knight, but specifically premature Shadow Knights, as we'll call him. So basically he's trying to resist the Calling, and essentially what it is it's his Shadow Knight form being homesick is the simplest way I can put it. He's fighting his inner thoughts and trying to stay away from the Nether, and the Calling for him is especially hard because, again, he still has emotions, which Sasha kind of talks about how that's not good. So Vlad also brings up a few times how Lawrence not having emotions isn't good. But yeah, so Lawrence hasn't been here because he's been struggling with the Calling, which sounds like a really bad horror film. I don't know. Okay, so I just wanted to point out there is a bad horror film called The Calling, starring Susan Sarandon and Donald Sutherland. So I was right. So Vlad says that Lawrence still thinks he's a human and that he's alive. But here's the thing, Lawrence never died. he said himself, maybe he's just, gaslighting himself, but Lawrence has said multiple times, in this season, he has said it, when he first saw Vlad, Aphmau asked if he was dead, and he said, no, I wasn't dead, there's other way to turn into Shadow Knights, that is much more painful, because Lawrence was tortured, he didn't die, but maybe he is dead, because Vlad says he still thinks he's alive, and he's not alive. And that's why he keeps holding on to his emotions, is because he thinks he's alive / thinks he's human. I literally looked down at my phone and keep adding to this sentence, and that's why he's so hot-headed and goes back and forth all the time so fast. That's the tea on Lawrence. So Aphmau goes to talk to Zoe, and Zoe is being weird, and she asks a really inappropriate question. I wish I wrote them down. I wish I did, because that's what a good person would do when they're recapping a series, and write inappropriate questions down. But I did not, because I don't like Zoe that much. It was basically, they were just about Aaron and getting married and like her love life, and then Aphmau was like, Zoe, these are really inappropriate, which I agree with. Zoe tells Aphmau she tried to open up the portal again, she would have like 100% died, whether she succeeded or failed. And Aphmau's like, why didn't you tell me that? But I'm like pretty sure she did tell you that. Like when she had the emptiness on her after she tried to open it the first time, she said you would die if you keep getting more emptiness on you, because that's what the purple and black stuff was. And that's how Aaron, well, that's not how Aaron died, but Aaron got a lot on him when he teleported, and then he was like, I don't care. Honestly, that scene is so sick and so rad. Like, honestly, I'd put it in here, but I think it's too long to put in here. But it's really cool. You should just go watch, honestly, for the scene. For the scene. But anyways, so yeah, I was like, why didn't you tell me? Even though Zoe did. And then Zoe's like, would that have stopped you? Zoe, your excuses make no goddamn sense. Because her first excuse for not telling Aphmau fully how the Irene portal opens is because, well, I didn't want you to lose hope, even though there was no hope, because Zoe used a 1,000-year-old relic to open the Irene dimension. And now she's telling Aphmau, if I told you would die, would have that has stopped you? And it's like, maybe it would have stopped her. Maybe. I think it did stop her a few times, because Aaron talked about, where is he? Aaron talked about how she would have died. And she was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. So I don't know what BS Zoe is pulling out of her butt, but whatever. I don't know. So Aphmau starts to have basically a borderline panic attack. And then Lilith Garnett says her first words, mama. So, everything's chill. So then Aphmau starts to kind of write her story to calm her down. And then she opens her book and a letter falls out. From Aaron, and okay, I'm gonna be looking at my phone so I can read this verbatim so I don't get it wrong. So basically he's like, thank you for being a part of my life, and you made me realize that I can let people in. I can't stop you from opening the Irene portal, but that means we would lose you. And he says that his death wasn't for Zane, because if you remember, Aphmau was like, dude, oh my god, so many episodes ago, so many episodes ago, kind of being like, you live out of anger towards Zane. That was his whole reason for living. If you remember when they got out of the Irene dimension, literally, I think it was at the beginning of season 2 when they got out of the Irene dimension. He's like, yeah, I have no life purpose now, because my life purpose was to murder Zane, and now I don't have that. And Aphmau's like, that is really sad. So basically he's telling Aphmau he didn't do this for that life purpose he kind of talked about so long ago, because Aaron had character development. Dare I say he's one of the only characters that have ever had character development in this series that was good. That was good character development. Because as we know, some of it is not good. And then some characters just don't change. Anyways, he said he did it for a good cause, and then he calls her an amazing lord, and that he will always be there with her. This note, calms her down, makes her happy. I'm gonna be for real. Maybe I'm a wimp, but if I got that note, I think I would be hysterically crying and then go into that state where I didn't talk to anybody for a week that she was in for a week after Aaron died, because I would be holding that letter sobbing, I think. Personally, I don't know. But that note would not help me at all, frankly. But Aphmau has a little costume change, which again, I don't have up here because I could barely print out the new people. So I'm sorry. She puts Aaron's bandana around her wrist. Garth is outside, and Afmao's like, oh, hello, Garth, good morning. And he's like, I don't deserve good mornings. Afmao, this is all my fault. I'm the reason Aaron's dead. I'm the reason everyone lost 15 years of their life because I got mad and went into the Irene dimension. And this is all my fault. And it is all Garth's fault. I think everything that has happened this season is Garth's fault. I'm gonna be so honest, and I will be so for real with y'all. It really is. And sometimes you're like, you can't control things. This is Garth's fault. He was a baby because he thought Lawrence and Afmao were dating behind his back, and he didn't use his freaking words. So, whatever. Episode 85, the next step. So Garth and Afmao are hanging out in the plaza, and they're kind of talking about their fight with Ivy. And then Afmao also says, kind of like what Caitlin said a few episodes ago, that fighting Ivy was different. Like, it just felt different. Like, the fact she was able to hold off her Irene dimension. Irene form was kind of crazy. And that she agrees with Caitlin. She's like, I've never fought her before, but it just felt different than how fighting someone normally does. And then they kind of talk about how she understands why Ivy wants her because of the Irene relic, obviously, but Ivy also wants Gareth, which they don't quite understand. So then Afmael's like, okay, we're gonna go actually check out Okage. Go gather everybody. So Garth goes to gather everybody. Afmael goes to talk to Kawaii-chan and Nekawet. Nothing comes out of that. I just wanted to say that because Nekawet is taller now. Characters are growing, guys. Characters are getting bigger. People age. That's crazy. Afmao, Levin, and Dante are talking about the pit, and apparently the explosion was so big it could be seen from Mateli, which Mateli isn't that... New Mateli is, according to sources, I don't know, the time they went to Mateli, it's like a 2-day walk to get there, man. Which is crazy. So that explosion was huge. It was a 2-day walk to get there. That's absolutely crazy. So Afmao gathers everybody, and they kind of talk about the plan, and basically she wants to go to Okage to kind of, check out the other side, check out the other team, and try and figure out, like, actually what Tula is doing here. So she's like, Lucinda, you, Travis, stay here, protect everybody. Garth, Caitlin, you're coming with me. So, okay, then these three leave, and she's like, Zoe, watch after Lilith Garnett for me. And the cycle continues. Episode 86, Reunion with a Thief. So it starts off with Caitlin, Garth, and Afmao walking in the woods, and they end up actually at the Thieves Guild instead of going to Okage. So Afmao says that it's because no one has been in and out of Okage, and if anyone is able to find an entry point in there, it's these two fools. So, they start wandering around the cave for a bit, even though, like, just being like, I gotta find a sign of, like, where they went, because, like, they moved. Also, they're thieves. They're not gonna leave a trail behind where they went. That would be bad. They'd be bad thieves. So they begin, like, looking around the cave for clues, and then the dagger that Amber gave Afmao so many episodes ago, like, starts glowing and shit, and then a secret passage opens, and then Garth's like, oh my god, it's a sigil! What? That's crazy. And Afmao's like, no, it's a dagger. But anyways, guess who comes through the hallway? Amber's back. I love Amber. But so Afmao's like, okay, we need to see the boss. I'm here to see your boss. And at first she's hesitant because, of Garth and Caitlin. She's like, I don't know these people, Afmao. And then she's like, okay, but they're, like, with me. And she's like, okay, but I don't know them, Afmao. And then Afmao's like, but they're chill. And after saying they're chill a few times, Amber's like, okay, yeah, they're chill, I guess. And then they go and see the boss. The boss is like, the look in your eyes is different. And if we remember, way back, the last time she was a thief, when she joined the Thieves Guild, Caitlyn said the same thing. So Aphmau asks her to get in Okassis, and she's like, y'all are probably the dumbest people to exist in existence ever. Why the hell do you want to get into Okassis? And Aphmau says that she will give her information while she's on the trip. And the boss is like, all right, now you're speaking my language. I love information and I love gossip. She says that she will specifically get information for a connection between the Tula region and the Romov family. Romov? If I say that wrong, this entire video, I am so sorry. Basically, that's Garth's family. Garth, Xenix, that's not Xenix. Garth, Vlad, and Zane's family. The Ramah family. And then the boss is like, ooh, I've heard nothing about that. That is not even on my radar. If that is some yummy, juicy gossip that you were able to give me, yeah, I'll help. No one knows about that, so I will help you. So then everybody takes a little nappy nap and they wake up and prepare for the trip. Garth's outside. Aphmau goes outside. She wakes up from her nap. Garth is also out there, like I literally just said. And then they talk for a bit. Nothing comes of it except for Garth being like, I haven't been home in 20 years. I'm assuming he's talking about the 15-year difference. I'm assuming because I just assume he's in his mid to late 20s. I'm assuming. I don't know. Episode 87, Zane's house. So Garth and Caitlyn are like, we need a makeover because Garth, is the son of the Lord of Okassis, and Caitlyn used to be a jury of 9 member. And then Aphmau's like, okay, yeah, we can try and find you some new clothes. And Amber's listening, and she's like, new clothes? I can get you new clothes. There's some hand-me-downs. And Garth's like, do you have anything, like, better than that? And then Caitlin's like, it's fine, I'll take the hand-me-down clothes. And so then they change into different guard uniforms, and Garth is wearing a guard uniform, obviously not this one. He's wearing a guard uniform and a helmet. Great disguise. No one can see your face. What is Caitlyn wearing, you ask? Different armor. And what's crazy about that is the outfit she was wearing was not armor. It was like commoner's clothes. So, dare I say she'd be more recognizable in armor than commoner's clothes because Ivy didn't recognize her at first. Dare I say. The dare has been said. I said what I said. If I knew what Caitlyn looked like, I feel like I'd immediately recognize her if I saw her in Okassis. But obviously no one there knows what she is. Anyways, they all change and go to Okassis. So they go to Zane's house because that's where they're trying to go because they want to try and figure out more information on what's happening because all they know is that the Tula region wants Zane. Yeah, they learned that Garth's parents, I only have his mom printed out, her name's Xana. His mom is being held hostage, and then so is his dad, but we never learn where his dad is at all ever. But so yeah, they go into Zane's office, and this is where Jeffrey was murdered, guys. And Caitlyn realizes this is where Jeffrey was murdered because his, like, I don't know, scythe? No, that's not what it is. I don't know what his weapon was, but whatever his weapon was is in there. And Caitlyn's like, and also, I think the room is definitely different because in the cutaway it was way larger, but obviously, like, it's playing different. It's a different season. Maybe they forgot about because the thing is, it looks exactly it looks exactly like what it looked like. It's just smaller. I'm assuming because they realized they couldn't have a room that big inside of Zane's house. But anyways, tangent away. So Caitlyn starts having an existential crisis, and specifically because she knows that Jeffrey was a good person, but he was a good person that was forced to do bad things, because Jeffrey murdered a lot of people. Because if you remember, the way that Aphmau met Jeffrey was him holding the Lord of Picaro Village and Brightport hostage, and putting them on a pedestal to sacrifice to the Shadow Lord. During Caitlyn's, like, entire crisis thing, Garth runs away. He runs away, and then they're like, oh my god, where'd he go? And then they're like, okay, he probably went to go look for his mom because you know, he knows his mom's being held hostage. He hasn't seen his mom in like, for her it's been like 20 years. For him it's been like 5 years. But, you know, he hasn't seen his mom in 20 years. Oh, so they go to the prison, and then Aphmau and Caitlin overhear guards talking about relics and how that Ivy has found 3 relics. Ivy has one. They found the second, and Aphmau has the 3rd. So what's that second relic she's found, guys? So Gareth sees his mom. He goes through, like, he like sees a window like with iron fences. What? I don't know. Basically, he goes and sees her through the window, and she's like, "Do whatever you want, kill me. I'm not talking to you." And the Gareth's like, "No, no, 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 no. It's me, mother." And I was dying when this was said, and I will put in the clip of him saying it, because it literally just says mother. And I audibly laughed so hard when he said that. I do not know why. I just did. And I thought it was really funny. And my favorite scene is coming up so soon. So soon my favorite scene is coming up. But yeah, no, I literally was dying. I audibly laughed so loud. And when I laugh, okay? I love laughing. It brings me joy. Okay, oh my god, we're on episode 88, Stuck in Okage. These episodes I actually are starting to remember off the top of my head because I watched these 4 days ago. So it opens with Gareth and his mother talking, and then she's like, Gar. I don't know why. I thought that was funny, and he calls her mommy. And it's just really funny thinking about the voice actor, Gareth's voice actor, saying mommy. He doesn't say mommy. Aphmau was reading this. But he has like such like a deep British voice. Him saying mommy in my head made me audibly laugh. Again, I can't explain it, but like they run to some docks and they call Gareth stupid and dumb because they're like, dude, you almost got us caught. Like we almost got caught because of you. And he's like, my bad, guys, I just want to see my mom. And then guards come over because they hear people talking. They're like, oh man, guys, this is it. This is the end of it. And then a cat jumps out of a crate because they're hiding behind crates. And then the guard is like, oh, it's just some dumb cat. And then the other guard is like, isn't your wife a Mifwa? And then he's like, my statement still stands. It's almost sunrise. And they're on the opposite side of Okage from where they entered. So they're like, uh-oh, what do we do? And Garth's like, follow me, guys. I know where we can go. And they're like, wow, you know. And Aphmau's like, you know Okage so well. And he's like, I grew up here. Of course I do. So then they go to an abandoned house. And Caitlin's like, rad, and breaks into it. And Garth's like, I had a key. And she's like, well, I just made another door. So, you know, it's fine. And then Aphmau's like, you have glass on your hand. Aphmau, details, whatever. So then Caitlin goes to bed and Garth wants to go to bed, but Aphmau's like, no, wait, I want to talk. And he's like, yes. And then she was like, I would have helped you. Like, if you just said that you wanted to see your mom, I would have helped you. You could have told me. And he was like, yeah, I know. And I don't think this is something I've talked about yet. It isn't something I've talked about yet. But they have not addressed the issue. Well, not the issue. They have not addressed the kiss yet. They have not addressed the like kiss that happened, because to Gareth it was like 2 weeks ago. To Aphmau it was a few months ago. So obviously Aphmau's kind of moved on from that. But Gareth probably, obviously he doesn't, because of what he says later. But it's just never been addressed, and like at this point I was really confused how it hadn't been addressed. I mean, obviously they weren't going to address it like when Aphmau was grieving over Aaron's death, but it just still has not been addressed yet. And frankly, I think this should have been addressed way sooner, because when it does get addressed, it gets addressed at the worst possible time ever. That's besides the point. Anyways, episode 89, spying on Ivy. Guys, we're almost there. Oh my god, I look like a mad scientist right now. Whew. Oh my gosh. Okay, my goal is to be done with this by 12, and you know what, I think I'm pretty close to that, because it's 9:40 and we have 10 more episodes to get through. So anyways, there's a cutscene back to when the explosion happened with Aaron, because Garth keeps having nightmares about it. And then he wakes up in a cold sweat. And again, that scene is really baller. So Aphmau goes downstairs and her tummy growls, and Caitlin's like, there's no food. And Aphmau's like, nah, I'm not hungry. I just don't feel well. So they talk about Garth's mom, then they talk about Ivy, and then they talk about the relics. And they're just like, okay, we need to figure out how they keep finding these relics. And then they're like, oh, remember when the guards said that the scholars were the ones finding the relics? And then they're like reporting the person. Maybe we should figure out who the person they're reporting to is so we can try and figure this all out. So then Caitlin goes off to kind of break Garth's mom out of jail, because Garth was going to do it, but Aphmau's like, no, you're too close to the situation. So Aphmau and Garth go to follow the scholar that is at Zane's house. So they follow the scholar from Zane's house, and it takes them to Ivy. Oh my god, Ivy's in charge? That's crazy. I would have never guessed that. So then they talk about something called the Romov relic. And Aphmau's like, Garth, what is the Romov relic? And he's like, girl, I have no clue. I have got no clue what is happening. So episode 90, Zane lives. So Aphmau and Garth are now in an alleyway, and then Garth is continuing to talk about how he has no clue what the Romov relic is. And then they hear a scream. It's Caitlin. Caitlin screams. She runs around the corner and is like, guys, I donked up. We have to get out of here. And Garth's like, cool, chill, I guess my mom's not coming. So then they leave. They go back to the boss, and the boss is like, let me get this straight. I help you guys sneak into Ocassus. Then you get stuck in Ocassus, and then you reveal my entryway into Ocassus. And she's like, you guys are terrible thieves. Oh my god, like, you guys suck. And then Garth's like, actually, I think I'd make a great thief, because I'm really cool and really awesome. And then Aphmau's like, have you always wanted to be a thief? And he's like, no, I just think I'd be really good at it. And then the boss is like, okay, did you butt faces get any information from me? And then Aphmau's like, yes, we actually did get some information. Okay, so this whole thing wasn't in vain. She tells her about the Romov family relic, and that's why the Tula region is all over Zane's stuff. Obviously, she does not know who Garth is, but she's all over Zane. That's why she's all over Zane. They're looking for something called the Romov relic. And then she's like, interesting. Okay. So Aphmau's like, okay, guys, we have to get Ivy. And Caitlin's like, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. And Aphmau's like, well, you have any better ideas? And they're like, how are we even going to do that? And then Aphmau's like, what is she looking for? Oh, the Romovs. And then Garth is like, no offense, but I'm not gonna. And then Aphmau's like, no. We're not going to use you as bait. We're going to use Zane as bait. And then they're like, girl, Zane is dead. He's dead. This has been established. And she's like, I know, but someone can dress up as him. And Garth is like, well, it can't be me, because I have blonde hair. And also, I'm taller than him. And Aphmau's like, I don't know. You guys seem like... And he's like, I am taller than him. Okay, I'm taller than him by a few inches. I always have and always will be. Whatever. So Garth is like, but Aphmau, you could definitely pass as Zane because you're shorter than I am, and also you have black hair. And then Aphmau's like, what? And then he's like, yeah, no, you would do great. If you just had his clothes, you could totally pass. And then Amber runs out, and she's like, I have Zane's clothes. The first thing that was obviously ransacked when Tula broke in was the Romov house and Zane's house, and the source I was meeting there, because Amber led them in there. I didn't say that, wasn't super important, but Amber was also in Ocassus while these guys are in Ocassus, and she's like, I have Zane's clothes, I will give them to you. And so then Amber is like, on one condition, and then they're like, what is that? And then she's like, go on a date with me. And so Caitlin gets offended. Amber's not even looking at her. I guess maybe she was supposed to be looking at Caitlin. She was looking at Garth. But we all know she wasn't talking about Garth. But do y'all remember when I was like, last part, I was like, Amber seems like she has a crush on the boss, but it seems more like a I want to be you crush and not a I want to be with you crush. Axe that. Confirmed, Amber is gay. We have our first gay character. In Minecraft Diaries. Absolute slay. We're getting some diversity on this chart. Oh man, we got our first gay character though. Pretty awesome. So Aphmau dresses up like Zayn, and Caitlin is like, man, I'm getting angry just looking at you. Can I punch you a little bit? It'll just make me feel really better. Can I punch you? And Aphmau's like, no, you. So Aphmau and Garth go outside, and Aphmau's like, Garth, you've been acting really different. He's like, what? No, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, look at you right now. And then he starts hysterically laughing, and then she's like, yeah, ever since we left Ocasis. And he's like, of course I'm not, okay? The town I grew up in was taken over by Tula. My mom is locked in a jail cell. And then Aphmau gives him a hot girl pep talk. We all love a hot girl pep talk. And then they hug it out. And Garth is like, dang, it's weird hugging you because you are dressed as my brother. And then Aphmau's like, no, if you excuse me, I have to go tell the Ruan region that Zayn lives. So then they go to, they go to Nakara village, and she goes into the plaza, and she's like, oh my god, it's me, Zayn. I'm Zay Romav. I'm alive. And then Caitlin runs in wearing a mustache, and she's like, oh my god, Zayn's alive? I thought he was dead. Zayn Romav. And she's like, yes, I am Zayn Romav, and I am alive, and I am not dead, actually. She reveals to Aphmau that the mustache she is wearing is actually made out of her hair. I don't know. But then the guards are like, yo, what? Oh my god, we're gonna get such a raise. Zayn, get your booty over here. And then Aphmau's like, oh my gosh, and then runs into the woods, and then she manages to shake them off her tail. But also, I haven't mentioned this, the guards from the Tula region are like bro dude people, so they just keep calling each other bro dude and bruh, and I don't know, that's really funny, and that is the charm that I miss. That type of charm doesn't really exist in season 2 that much. Like in season 1, there was, okay, that's a whole tangent for after we get through all of this. Episode 91, it's a trap. So Ivy is sitting at Zayn's desks, and the guards are telling her, hey Ivy, Zayn is alive. There was a sighting of him in Nakara village. Aphmau and Garth are chatting, and then Kalzu shows up, and I don't even think I said his name last episode, but basically that guy who is in the Thieves Guild that was Amber's friend that didn't want Amber to join the Thieves Guild, he's like, hey, have you guys seen Amber? And then they were like, I guess we can show you where Amber is. So then they go into the Thieves Guild, and he's like, Amber, you aren't safe. You have to come with me. And she's like, duh, I'm not safe. I'm literally a thief. Nothing I do is safe. And then she's like, get out of here. I don't want to see your face. And then he leaves. And I don't think he's brought up ever again. Caitlin is like, Ivy's in Nakara village. So Aphmau goes back to Nakara village, and she's like, yo, it's me, Zayn. And then Ivy is like, oh my god, get him. And then she runs back into the woods and then shakes him off her tail. And then she's like, whoa, I made it. And then Ivy is on top of a tree. Ivy jumps off of the tree and is like, I know you're not Zayn, but I was like really curious what was going on with this. And she's like, oh my god, Aphmau, you did my job for me. And then Garth and Caitlin show up, and then she was like, Aphmau, you are doing me such a favor. Not only are you here, but Garth's here, and you are the 2 people I'm looking for. This is amazing. Yeah, so then Ivy doesn't elaborate like at all the something that she wants, but obviously what she wants is a Ramal relic. So I mean, I don't think Ivy would tell them that, but they all know that. I don't know. So Aphmau turns Super Saiyan into her Irene form, and then she starts to fight. Ivy's like, okay, let's make this fight fair then. So she uses powers. Ivy has powers. She uses her powers to knock out Caitlin and Garth, and they're fighting. And then Aphmau is able to knock Ivy on the ground, and before Aphmau can kill Ivy, Lawrence comes over, knocks her to the ground. Episode 92, A Lord and Her Guards. Garth wakes up, and he jumps in front of Lawrence and Aphmau, and he Power Rangers out. And here's why I'm saying Power Ranger and not Super Saiyan mode. It is because to me, the outfit he turns into looks like the blue Power Ranger. That's it. That's why I call him. He's a Power Ranger. It just looks like, he just looks like the blue Power Ranger. Okay, that's why I'm saying that, but it's whatever. And so Lawrence is like, Garth, what the hell are you doing here? Did you fall for Zane's tactics again? And then Garth is like, no, dum-dum, it's Maou. And it's like, dude, she could easily take off the hood that is over her face to show it, but Garth had to jump in front of them to protect her. Like, Maou, it'd take 1 second to pull it down and be like, it's me, Maou Lawrence, it's me. And he was like, I heard Zane was here, and I just wanted to see it for myself. And they're like, no, dude, Zane is dead. We were pretending to be Zane. We as a collective know. Maou was pretending to be Zane. And then Ivy got away while all of this was happening. So, good job, Lawrence. Good job. Good job, Lawrence. And then he was like, my bad, guys. I've just been, like, reflecting on my life for, like, the past few weeks or days. I don't know how long Lawrence has been gone, but girl, that self-discovery is taking a while. Maou says that she should head back to the island so they can try and figure out a game plan from there. So Maou finally begins to talk to Garth about his, like, Power Ranger mode, and he's like, if I'm gonna be honest, I have a relic. Or he, like, thinks he does, but he definitely does, because Garth tells Maou about the flashbacks he's been having in his dreams. So when Zane exploded, when Aaron exploded Zane, this relic appeared, and it absorbed into Garth. So I should have mentioned this. They're not at the island. That conversation did not happen at the island. They're going back to the island. So they're back in Phoenix Drop, and Dante sees Lawrence, and Dante's like, oh my god, Lawrence, I haven't seen you in forever. Where have you been? Did you fall in another hole? And Lawrence is like, God forbid a man falls in a hole. God forbid a man falls in a hole once. And Afma's like, it was 2 times. He's like, God forbid a man accidentally falls into a hole 2 times. Was it 2 times or is it 3 times? It's 2 times. It was 2 times. Anyways, so Dante is like, OMG, guys, the gang's back together. I've been waiting for this for 15 years. And Garth is like, it's only been a few weeks for me, man. And then Lawrence is like, it's been a few months for me. And then they joke about how old Dante is. And then Dante's like, well, do you guys want to spar? And they're like, hey, old man, wouldn't you break your hip or something? And then they start making fun of how old Dante is. And Dante's like, how old did I say he would probably be? Like in his late 30s? Mid to late 30s probably? Mid 30s probably. But yeah, anyways. So they call him an old man, and then the 3 of them run off. Episode 98, Hello Hyria. So Caitlin wakes Maou up. She's at her old house. So they're not back at the island yet, even though they said they were going back to the island. They're not back at the island yet. And Caitlin's like, dude, you look fucking disgusting today. Why does everyone keep saying that? Like, Maou looks gross. Like, stop calling people gross, guys. And Maou's like, yeah, I feel nauseous and, like, I want to punch things. Dare I say, Maou, punch Caitlin. She said you looked gross, okay? Punch Caitlin. So Maou is like, there is work that needs to be done, and then she falls out of the bed. Caitlin's like, let me get you some breakfast and some tea. You stay here. You are so stressed. So I'm assuming Maou eats her breakfast, because then after that it cuts to her being outside, and she sees Lucinda, and then Lucinda is like, thank God you're back. I don't think I would have lasted any longer with Travis. And he's like, hey, I only tried to touch your butt once a day. So Travis says that Maou looks bad and tired, because obviously everyone needs to point it out, because if one person points it out, they all need to point it out. Maou says that she wants Lucinda to come with her into the forest because she wants to go say hi to Hyria. Lucinda's like, no, why would I come with you? But here, take my staff. And so she's like, it still has remnants of Hyria's magic in it, so she'll, like, immediately recognize it when it's near the forest. So Maou's like, okay. And then before she leaves, Lucinda's like, okay, tell my mom I said hi, though. And then Maou's like, okay, cool. So Maou heads to the gates, and then Dante is rubbing into Garth and Lawrence's face that he beat both of them. So then Lawrence is like, I had something in my eye. Dante's hysterically laughing, and he's like, I've been practicing for 15 years, boys. Maybe one day you'll be able to be as strong as I am. So anyways, I thought it was funny. It was a cute moment between the three of them. It made me forget how much I dislike all of them. I'm just kidding. I like Dante when he doesn't talk about all of this. If we axe all of this, he's fine. So they head in the forest, and then Hyria immediately appears, and she was like, oh, I thought you were somebody else. And she begins to walk away, and then Afma was like, Lucinda says hi, and then she's like, okay, I'll talk to you guys for a bit. What's up? And then Afma asks about the relics, and Hyria says that they're from the Magi, or they may even be the Magi, but they aren't the Divine Warriors. I'm confused by like her entire tangent. But she was like, it's what gives people powers. The relics have personalities, and then they cling on to people that they share the personalities with. And then Garth is like, how do I have the same personality as my brother? I am not my brother, bruh. And then she was like, well, you guys must have had something in common, because also the relics have different definitions of good and evil. So obviously something that Garth finds bad, the relic might find good, kind of situation like that. I don't know. And then he was like, well, I'm not like my brother. I'm not like my brother. And then she's like, girl, I never said you were your brother. Okay, the relic just found something in you that he also had, which, guys, we later learn what is in episode 100, but we will get there when we get there. And then she says that everything she knows about the relics is from Enki. Anyways, so then she leaves and everyone heads back to Phoenix Drop. It wasn't the most productive conversation, but it was a conversation where we learned some new information. Episode 94, Spa Day. So you guys know how oh my god. Ugh. I almost threw up because I turned around and I have a dress hanging on my door and I thought someone was there. Oh my god. Episode 94, Spa Day. So this is like basically the equivalent to a beach day episode in animes, which I love a good beach day episode in animes. They are so fun. And also, it's definitely a filler episode. Just so they could get to 100. But hey, sometimes filler episodes are the best ones. Like Avatar Last Airbender. In the Avatar Last Airbender, they have a really good... The one filler episode they have is a really good episode. Like, it's a lot of people's favorites. Anyway, so it starts off with Aphmau going to Lucinda. And then Aphmau's like, I'm ready, but I'm also really scared. And Lucinda's like, it'll be fine. And then Aphmau's like, I don't know, I just feel guilty. And then Lucinda's like, I worked really freaking hard on this, so you will be doing this. And Aphmau's like, I literally saw you do nothing. And she's like, okay, physically I didn't, but I did work on this all day, so come with me, we're doing a spa day. And then she's like, Lucinda, what? And then Lucinda's like, Caitlin is already there, so we can't wait any longer because Caitlin is there. I don't know what I'm saying. Words are just coming out of my mouth. And then Aphmau's like, oh, Dante, Lawrence, and Garth are actually coming too. And she's like, what? And she's like, oh, they're not coming to the spa day. They're coming to the island, and I want to wait for them. And then she's like, but then she's like, I'll wait for them. You go and have fun with Caitlin. And Aphmau's like, okay, which confused me. Because, like, obviously they can find their way there. There's a giant portal outside of Lucinda's house. Why do they have to wait? I don't know. Didn't make sense to me. But anyways, Aphmau goes back to the island and she meets up with Leona. Leona's also involved in the spa day. And Caitlin, and then they're like, okay, we're going to head to the hot springs in the mountain. And then they all splish splash in the hot springs, and Lucinda comes, obviously, she's now also in the hot springs. And Leona is like, y'all hear that? And then Lucinda's like, girl, chill, like, everything's fine. And then she's like, no, something's definitely up. I hear something, and I think I smell something, but I can't tell because there's lavender everywhere. Because Lucinda, she, put some lavender in the hot spring to like make it more spa day. I personally hate lavender. Hate the smell of it. Wish I liked lavender. It's in like so many yummy drinks. Can't stand it. Can't stand the smell of it. But she's like, but I can still smell better than Yip. And then Lucinda's like, you sure do bring up Yip a lot, Leona. And then she's like, well, that's because he is dumb and stupid, and I'm better, and he's just really dumb. And Lucinda's like, sounds like a crush to me. And then Caitlin is like, isn't he like a little old for her? And then Aphmel's like, well, you know, he's only like 2 years older than her. And okay, guys, as a full-grown adult, for those who do not know, I am 22. I know I don't look like I am 22, but I am 22. And as someone that was a teenager once, let me just tell you, the difference between, for example, a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old. So he, if we do math correctly, is 17. We know this because Aphmel says that she found him when he was 2. And Leona, if she's 2 years younger than Yip, is 15. I was a completely different person from when I was 15 to 17. And we are not going to get into, obviously, the nitty gritty of it all. We're not going to break into the gritty. Sorry. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty of it. I just want to say that, yes, Leona is too young for Yip. She is 15. That's Kiki. She's 15. He is 17. Way too young. That's my personal opinion. Because again, me personally, I don't know about other people. I was completely different when I was 15. Different morals, different mindset than I was when I was 17. Completely different maturity level. I had a different look on life. Like, it just, I don't know. But then, like, Aphmel does have a pattern of weird age gaps. And this is because, fun fact, her and her husband do have, there was this whole controversy that happened a few months ago, last year, I want to say, where people kind of dug deeper into her and her husband's relationship. And then I think they, like, I don't fully remember, but her and her husband do have, like, an age gap because I think Aphmel, like, lied about her age when she met her husband. Don't quote me on that. Like, I completely forgot what that drama was. But basically, also in Phoenix Drop High, there's a weird age gap between Aphmau and Aaron. And it's just, like, a whole thing. It was a whole controversy. It's a whole thing. I don't want to dive super deep into it. But Aphmau does have a past with her series with weird age gap relationships. Anyways, that whole tangent is over. Had to address it. I just had to address it. It's a controversy she has been stuck in the past before with. So, my opinion. Anyway, so Lucinda turns the tables to Aphmau, and she's like, Aphmau, what's going on in your love life? And then she's like, ask Caitlin. And then Lucinda's like, okay, Caitlin, what's going on in your love life? And she was like, nothing. And then she's like, oh, come on, there's got to be something. And then Caitlin's like, I'll admit it, I really love punching in Aphmau. And then Leona goes back to, guys, I really think I hear something. And then they're like, guys, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And then Lucinda's like, okay, but like, actually, because unless you see Aphmau in that way, Aphmau doesn't count. And punching also doesn't count. And then Caitlin's like, I guess Travis is a pain in my side, but he is really fun to punch. And then she's like, and then there's Vlad. And she's like, I don't like Vlad in that way, but there's just something really comforting about his eyes. And if you remember, back a while ago on the boat, Caitlin talks about how Vlad makes her slightly uncomfortable because he reminds her of Jeffrey. But I don't know if that's like meant to allude to something. I don't know if that has something in season 3. But they're not related. And Jeffrey was not like a Shadow Knight or anything. Also, Vlad is a full Shadow Knight. Why are his eyes not red? Because Vince... Is Vlad a full Shadow Knight? Actually, he might not be. I take it back. I don't think Vlad is a full Shadow Knight because I don't think he killed anybody. So Lucinda's like, ooh, you sure? And she's like, no, his eyes are just comforting. And that's that. And Lucinda goes back to Aphmau and she's like, I don't have time. And Lucinda's like, nuh-uh. As long as I've known you, you've always said that. You're saying there's not someone you feel really strong about. And don't say Lawrence and Garth. Because she literally has kissed both of them. And then there was like that whole love triangle that happened at last season. Not last season. Last part 1. Because it like immediately stopped for some reason after episode 50. But like they don't count for some reason. I don't know why. And Aphma's like, I just don't know. I don't know. And then Aphma's like, what about you? And she's like, okay, yeah, let's talk about me. I think I have a thing for Travis. And then Caitlin's like, he's creepy. And she's like, honey, I'm a witch. I love creepy. Lucinda, no. Lucinda, no. And then she's like, unlike other warlocks I've met, he is a decent guy. Because if you remember, her last boyfriend, who was a warlock, cursed an entire region. Of the region. So then she turns it back to Maou. And then she's like, I'm uncomfortable and leaving. She turns around. The boys are there. So who do we have here? Travis, Dante, Lawrence. I don't know if Garth was there. I didn't see him. But Travis screams, we've been spotted, boys. And then they run away. But here's the thing. Literally, all she does is turn around and they're in a bush. And literally would have been in everyone but her and Leona's eyesight. Caitlin would have been able to see them. And Lucinda would be able to see them. Because Lucinda's literally facing the way the boys are. And all she did was turn around. My issue with this is, fine, make that joke, whatever. It can be funny. It happens in like every Beach Day episode anime. There is a teenager there. Do we forget about the 15-year-old girl that's there? Do we forget about the I didn't forget about the 15-year-old girl there. Like, if Leona wasn't there, haha, funny. Haha, funny pervert joke. Leona is there. I didn't like that. That's weird. That's weird. I didn't like that. Anyways, episode 95, Shadow of the Past. So Maou talks to Isabel, and Isabel is washing all of her clothes. And then she tells, oh my god, I'm like brain farting. She tells Isabel that her plans today are to take Nekawet and Leona into the woods to explore the island because Leona keeps begging her, and she thinks it'd be fun to show Nekawet around as well. And then, so Maou and Leona meet up, and Leona's complaining because everyone is late. By everyone, she means Nekawet. And she was like, I just want to get going because I need to smell more things on the island than Yip has. And then I was like, you sure do talk about Yip a lot. Like, you do have a little crush on him. And you don't want to outdo him. You want to impress him. And Leona's like, no, I want to be the alpha. Okay, I want to be the alpha of the lion. Lion? I want to be the alpha of the island. I do not like Yip. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so Nekawet comes over and she starts shooting everything with her bow and arrow because Nekawet is learning archery. So she just likes to shoot everything, I guess. And then Nekawet reveals that she can see magic because she can just see magic. And then she's like, what, you guys can? Aphma's like, no. And then Leona's like, is it like how you can smell things? What does it smell like? And she was like, doesn't smell like anything. But anyway, so Nekawet says that because she said something feels off. Like the magic around here feels off. And then Leona's like, yeah, but it smells off. Something smells off. And then Aaron is there. And then Aphma's like, girls, go home and get people. Go home and get somebody. Go back and get somebody. Go back to the camp. So then Aphma runs after Aaron. You know, these two go back. Aaron stops, looks at her, and she's like, you're not Aaron. And then he transforms into an imp. So Aphma kills it. Dante runs over and is like, oh shit, dude, the girls told me what happened. I am so sorry. Aphma breaks down. She starts crying, takes her back to the camp. She sits at the ocean holding Aaron's bandana. Lawrence, guys, this is where Lawrence's character truly gets nuked. Anyway, so Lawrence walks over and is like, hey. And then Aphma's like, hey, Lawrence. And he's like, you didn't even look at me. And then she's like, I can tell by your voice who it was. And he was like, okay. And then he's like, how are you doing? Aphma's like, I don't want to talk about it. He's like, Dante told me what happened. And she was like, I told Dante to tell nobody what happened. And then Lawrence was like, well, you know, Dante told us, why did I point down here? Dante told me and Garth because, like, you're our lord. Not only does your physical health matter to us, but also your mental health matters to us, which it's like, yeah, I'm sure you care about her mental health, Lawrence. So then he says the most out-of-pocket thing ever, and just starts talking about Aaron, is like, I don't understand why you're making like such a big deal about this. Like, he's gone. He's sacrificed himself. I'm here. He's not. Why are you still bummed about it? What was your relationship with Aaron? Lawrence, why would you say that? And here's the thing. I think this is what it's trying to imply, that Lawrence is obviously losing control of his emotion. Obviously, like the whole calling situation is, everyone's been saying that Lawrence can't have emotions because it's getting to him, because he's a Shadow Knight, he's dead, he thinks he's alive, he's still holding on to emotions, which is breaking him. So obviously that is what's implying here. However, disgusting, foul, no excuse. No excuses. I think that's what she was trying to do with his character. Disgusting, foul, no excuse still. He's literally like, I just don't understand why you're so upset about his death. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And then he keeps asking her over and over again, what was your relationship? Why are you so upset over him? It doesn't make sense. Why are you so... And says it over and over again. Aphmau like starts crying. Garth literally, he comes over and tells him, dude, stop. What are you doing? And he's like, no, I want to know. I want to know what your relationship was with Aaron. Okay, I need to know. And then Lawrence is like, we're her guards. We don't need to know our personal life. And he's like, dude, you were not here. You did not see them together. And Lawrence is like, I don't care. I know he's a good man because he sacrificed his life for literally everyone here. So obviously he's a good man. And then Lawrence gets all mad. And then Garth is like, dude, you're even lucky to be back right now. Which I don't know what he's referring to. I don't know if he's referring to when he was in the Nether, or if he's referring to just being back at the camp. So Aphmau, she falls onto the ground. She's overwhelmed by everything that's happening. So she dramatically falls onto the ground. And we're almost done. My hair can't handle this. My hair can't handle how outrageous this entire conversation is. So she falls on the ground dramatically. Garth is, you need to go take some rest. Like, you need to take care of yourself. And then Lawrence won't shut up. And then Garth is like, leave it, Lawrence, stop. And he's like, oh yeah, you would like to leave it because you're the reason he's gone. Moment of silence for how foul that entire conversation was. Oh my god. And then Lawrence walks off. Garth takes Aphmau back to her house. Like, the absolutely wild episode. Absolutely insanity. Insanity, guys. Oh my god. Episode 96. The Protector's Shrine. So, it opens with Kawaii-chan baking a bunch of sweets for Aphmau, and Nekawet is also there, and she's trying to help. Kawaii-chan's like, okay, put this egg in this bowl, and then she throws an egg, and a chicken spawns. I don't know if this was on purpose, because it was a regular chicken egg, and a chicken spawns. It goes into the fireplace, sets itself on fire, dies, and then she was like that? I don't know if that was planned or not. If it wasn't planned, oh my god, I don't know how Aphmau held it together. I really don't, because honestly, it was really, really funny. Then she starts to destroy some shelves, and then Kawaii-chan's like, go outside, I need to fix all of this, go outside, I'll call you back when, I'll call you later, I'll call you inside. So then she goes outside, and then Aphmau's like, why haven't you taught Nekawet any magic? And she's like, well, Nekawet is so young and like destructive that I feel like it'd be really dangerous to teach her magic. And then Aphmau's just like, well, you should. And she's like, okay. So she calls Nekawet inside, and she's like, Nekawet, I think it's time for mom to teach you how to do magic. And she's like, oh, heck yeah. She starts shooting her bow and arrow everywhere, and she's like, I can't wait to make magical bows. She runs out and continues to shoot things. Kawaii-chan runs after her and is like, oh my god, stop. Garth takes Aphmau into the woods and is like, hey, I was in the woods with Vlad earlier, and I stumbled upon this like little shrine thing, and like I just was really drawn to it, and I just wanted to show you what I found. I just want to show you what I found. Aphmau's like, oh, so fun. I'm so happy for you, Garth. And then he's like, I think that this relic has something to do with Esmond, the Protector, because Esmond's symbol was at the shrine, and he's drawn to the shrine. So he's like, I think it's Esmond's. And Aphmau's like, wow, that's really good. Cool for you, Garth. I'm really happy you found that. Maybe you should come here more often. That makes me sound like that Aphmau was like, you need to leave me alone. I didn't mean it like that. She just literally just says, like, you should come here if it makes you feel, like, safe or something closer to who you are. I don't know. Okay, so Aphmau goes to talk to Vlad, and he reveals that he had been following Lawrence when the whole entire, like, Zane conflict would happen, where he, like, tackled Aphmau to the ground because he thought Aphmau was Zane. And Aphmau's like, girl, why didn't you warn us? And he was like, well, if I warned you, then Lawrence would know I was following him, and then Lawrence would get extremely paranoid. And then she was like, that is a really good point. I'm going to read this from my phone so I don't get it wrong. Vlad says something that's strange that's happening with Lawrence is that Lawrence is ignoring the calling, which obviously he's ignoring it because he's at the island. And that is bad because he is stewing in his emotions, because if you remember, these two fools were like, emotions are just really bad. Like, you shouldn't have them as a Shadow Knight. But Lawrence is still holding on to those emotions because his dream is more important to him than the calling, and listening to, like, and controlling his Shadow Knight form. And his dream, obviously, is to be with Aphmau. His dream and fantasy is more important. That's why he's been getting so aggravated lately about the whole Aaron thing. Yeah, so that's Vlad's take on the whole situation. He's like, I don't know if this is, like, what's happening, but this is what I think's happening. And so Aphmau's like, okay, I'm gonna contact Cadenza because maybe Cadenza can help because siblings. Yeah, so episode 97, she's pregnant. Ooh, who's pregnant? So Zach and Cadenza arrive at the island. Vincent is there too, but Cadenza sent Vincent to go talk to Lawrence, because, you know, Shadow Knight. Vincent has tried to help him multiple times, but guys, you can't help people that don't want to be helped, and clearly Lawrence does not want help. So Aphmau and Cadenza catch up for a bit, and then Zach reveals that they're actually in a relationship. So cute. Look at them together. So cute. Cadenza and Aphmau start to talk about Lawrence, but then Aphmau falls onto the ground, is like, uh-oh, I don't feel good. So Cadenza takes Aphmau to her house and gets Zoe and Caitlin. Then it cuts to Lawrence running in the woods, and then Vincent falling off of a tree and is like, Lawrence, stop. And he's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, Cadenza sent me. And he's like, you didn't answer my question. What are you doing here? And it's like, girl, he did. He said Cadenza asked him to talk to you and get you. Like, I don't know. And then Vincent asks him about the calling. Lawrence is like, he blah, 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 blahs about his pride. He pulls out his sword and threatens Vincent, then runs off to see Cadenza. Girl is going crazy right now. So Aphmau wakes up in her bed, and like I said, Cadenza, Zoe, and Caitlin are there. Zoe is like, you passed out without warning again, and you've been having a hard time keeping food down in the morning. And I was like, yeah. And then Zoe's like, and Caitlin's been telling me about this mysterious illness you've been having. And Caitlin's like, yeah, and it's only in the mornings. It's weird. And so Zoe's like, Aphmau, how long have you known? And Aphmau's like, all right, y'all caught me. I'm pregnant. I remember when this episode came out, shock, gobsmacked, jaw on the floor. Absolutely. Everything went crazy. Everything went bananas. Then everyone starts freaking out, and Cadenza, Zoe, and Caitlin are all like, oh my god, who's the father? It's Aaron. This was crazy because, like, obviously there is not a super implied relationship between them. Well, no, there was an implied relationship, but it was never confirmed. So this confirmation sent the Minecraft Diaries fan base into an absolute shock, because here's the thing, I think more people were Larmau and Garmau fans than there were Armau fans. I think it's just because these two had been in there longer, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly. Frankly, I loved Dante when I was younger, and I was a Dante Nicole shipper. We all know how that turned out now. Anyways, sent the fan base into an absolute frenzy. So, yeah. Aphmau, so everyone's like, oh my god, when did this happen? And Aphmau's like, it happened right before Kenmer and Emmeline showed up to the island. And, like, if you remember, well, I didn't really talk about it enough, but Aaron and Aphmau were literally going everywhere together. This is when they were having picnics with Lilith Garnett, and this is, like, specifically, I think what I recall that was like, oh, makes sense, is when they were in the cave with Emmeline and Kenmer, and Aphmau starts crying because she's like, oh my god, Garth, we're never getting him out. And then Aaron's like, okay, but what does this have to do with getting Garth out? What does this like, he was very adamant of trying to, like, help her. And that was when I was like, oh, right. Like, obviously, I knew this was happening because I have seen this before. And obviously, this is one of the most iconic plot lines in season 2 because she's pregnant. But yeah, obviously, like, I was looking for more signs, and that was a big sign for me because that was after it happened. Anyways, I'm going on a whole entire tangent. But then it cuts to Lawrence, who had been listening inside the entire time. So Cadenza is like, do not tell Lawrence, let me talk to him first. Vincent comes in and is like, whoa, is it a party in here or something? And then Cadenza's like, where's Lawrence? And then he's like, I thought Lawrence would have found you by now. So then Dante walks in, and Dante's like, Maou, I need... Oh, hello, Af. I don't know why he says that. So there was a messenger from the Tula region that he was like, dude, there's a messenger, and the messenger says that Ivy is going to kill Garth's mom. And they're like, episode 98, Garth. This is an interesting episode because a lot of it happens in Garth's POV, which I will elaborate later. So Maou is trying to figure out how to tell Garth that she's pregnant with Aaron's baby. So Maou decides that she's going to tell him right after he learns that his mom is going to get executed. He's like, what? Obviously. And then after she says that, he's like, me. What about me? Me. Garth, not everything is about you. And then this is where they finally bring up, like, the kiss and everything that had been happening. He was like, you were doing this under my nose when I was fighting Zane, and then you were saying all those things to me under the tree. Was that a lie? Because, again, keep in mind what I said earlier. This happened, like, 2 weeks ago to him when they kissed. This happened months ago to Maou. So, obviously, they feel very different about each other now. And he was like, I just didn't bring it up because it was, like, inappropriate. Here's my take on this. Do I think Garth and Maou stringing Garth along? No. However, the only reason I'm saying this situation is different from this situation is because, like I said, 2 weeks ago to him, or 3 weeks ago, I don't know, they kissed, they talked about their feelings. For Maou, that was months ago is when that happened. So I do think maybe she should have told Garth she wasn't interested. I think that is something she should have done because obviously they weren't around each other all the time, and this happened literally 3 to, I don't know, weeks ago to him. That's my take. However, she did not owe him anything saying she was in a relationship. I do think she should have, Also, I think she should have just not said that after his mom is being put up for execution. I think it was, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, anyways, he runs away to Okage, angry, to go break his mom out. Maou goes to talk to Caitlyn, and she's like, he'll be fine. Vlad comes in, and he's like, guys, I cannot find Lawrence. And Mou's like, hey, can you go after your brother? He's kind of going bonkers right now. And he's like, okay, I'll go after him. And he's like, it's just bait for Ivy. Like, obviously this is bait. Ivy is doing this to try and bait Maou and Garth into going. Joke's on her, Maou doesn't go. But now, again, it gets interesting. Like I was talking about earlier, we get a Garth POV. And we've had this one other time in the series. Back, like, in season 1, when Garth would... And was it the end of season 1? When Garth is chasing after, oh my god, who was it? Who is he chasing after? Was it Lilith? What was her name? Does anyone remember her name? I can't. When he was chasing after that woman, I think it was it? I don't. Oh no. He was chasing after her, and that's what led him into the pasture, where he saw Lawrence and Maou kissing. Boom, I figured it out. I remembered it. That was the last time we saw something like this. So he's talking about, like, his feelings for Maou and how he basically hates her now and how everything's unfair. And he's basically talking like an emo teenager right now. And then he runs into some bandits that are, like, robbing some children. So then Garth goes up to them, knocks out the bandits, and is like, hey kid, you'll make an amazing guard one day. And he's like, oh my god, thank you, I'm gonna go tell my mom. And then they run away. So then a wyvern appears, It's Raven. Raven is here. And Garth's like, oh my god, hey Raven. And Raven's like, hey. And he's like, can you give me a ride to Ocassis? And Raven's like, okay. So then they go to Ocassis. Episode 99. Battle of Ocassis, which is not really a battle. So we're still at a Garth POV. And then Raven drops him off on the outskirts of town. And then Vlad appears because Vlad is fast as fuck. You know, he's able to keep up with a wyvern. I don't know how Vlad got there so fast, but he is. And my thing, okay, so now it's like pure voice acting. Everything is voice acting in Garth's POV. And here's my thing. Vlad's voice is way too enthusiastic for who he is. He is a Shadow Knight, okay? This guy doesn't have emotions, okay? Like, he should have, this is my opinion. I think he should have a very still voice like this. I think this is how he should talk. He talks with way too much enthusiasm. He talks how I talk, and I talk with way too much enthusiasm. I talk way loud with too much enthusiasm. Anyways, Garth's plan is to go talk to the Thieves Guild because he wants, you know, get back in Ocassis, and he doesn't know how to get back in because the last place they went, they, like, you know, revealed it to the Tula guards. So he needs another way in there. So he finds his way up inside, and then Amber's voice actress, not a big fan of Amber's voice actress. I think her voice doesn't match. I think the issue is Aphmau does these voices, and so I have the idea of having these voices in my head, and then those voices aren't how the voice actors are doing it, because Aphmau always talked with Vlad in a monotone voice. Amber was always talked to in a squeaky voice. That's not... She doesn't do that. It's not how they are, and it kills me, but, like, whatever, I don't know. So Amber says, oh my god, the hottie isn't here. This is where 100% confirmed. Our first gay character. But, like, because the last time it was implied, Caitlyn got offended, but she wasn't looking at Caitlyn, so that confused me. Because I think in the script she was supposed to look at Caitlyn, because only Caitlyn got offended. And then she's like, where's the hottie? So I'm assuming she's talking about Caitlyn. So I guess Amber likes blue-haired women that are assertive. That's Amber's type, which, like, good for you, girly. What a good type to have. Anyways. So, yeah, Garth. So Amber takes Vlad and Garth to see the boss, and the boss is, like, laughing at them and is like, why would I help you? Like, you got rid of a spot to get into Ocassis. And he's just like, you would be really dumb if you didn't have more spots. And he's like, well, I can give you information that I know for a fact you do not have. And then she's like, oh, what's that? And he was like, I'm Garth Romov. And then Vlad's like, oh yeah, and I'm Vlad Romov. And he's like, yeah, 2 of the Romov boys are alive. I bet you didn't know that. And she's like, what? And he's like, okay. And also, my mommy will give you a bunch of money if we can go save her. And then she was like, oh, okay, yeah, good deal. I'll help you guys. But also, you need to not only give me that money, but you need to show me evidence that you are Romovs. I need that evidence. And he's like, okay. So then Amber helps him into the city. Garth turns into his Power Ranger mode. Vlad turns into his Shadow Knight mode. And they, like, kill every guard in sight. Every guard KO'd. Like, it's crazy. They are on a rampage. An absolute rampage. And so then they make their way to the jail. Guys, this is, I think, my favorite scene in the entirety of Minecraft Diaries. So Ivy appears at the jail, and Garth and Vlad are like, Ivy. And then Ivy, you know, she's all sad because Aphmau's not there, and she wanted Aphmau to be there. Garth knocks Ivy to the ground, and Ivy's like, don't kill me. And he's like, you know, I'm not going to kill you because I think you deserve a fair trial by the people of Ocassis. He turns around, she laughs, and she's like, you are so stupid and so dumb. You should have killed me when you had the chance. And then Raven comes and bites her head off. Oh my god, I was dying when that happened. Like, this has to be my favorite scene in Minecraft Diaries ever. Literally, Raven coming over, biting her head off, a body flops onto onto the ground. And then Raven's like, okay, my debt is paid to you now. And then Garth's like, thank you, old friend. And he's like, I'm not your friend, caca, and then flies away. So then they break their mom out of jail. Before they run in the woods, his mom goes and grabs Ivy's relic. Then they run into the woods, and then his mom's like, okay, we're gonna walk into the woods, but I know how to get to Hyria's grotto, because me and her, we're like this. They don't really elaborate why they're close, but I guess they are. So they go to the grotto, and actually Aphmau, Caitlin, and Lucinda are there. And then when this reveal is crazy. Bonkers. Okay, so when Ziana gets there, the relic she has activates and starts glowing, and everyone's like, whoa, it's glowing, and that's crazy. And then Hyria's like, okay, guys, I think I finally owe you the truth. Let me tell you about Irene. So this next part, I will be basically reading off my phone the entire time because I have to tell an entire story. So yeah. Anyways, episode 100. We made it, guys. We're at episode 100. Episode 100. So this whole episode is pure voice acting. It is pure voice acting. And Hyria's like, okay, guys, I owe you the juiciest gossip you will ever hear in your entire life. Like, guys, this is pure gossip, honestly. Like, honestly, most of this isn't even information. It's pure gossip about Irene's life, and it is amazing. So Hyria was like, I was the last person to see Irene before she went into her slumber. She doesn't say she's dead. She says slumber. And Irene, so she says, Irene fought countless wars and helped people around the world, not just in Ruan. She lived before regions even existed, and she was the only divine warrior who didn't reincarnate. So essentially what that means is, you know, the other divine warriors would die, and then, you know, their relics would get passed down to the person that they reincarnate next as. So Irene kept seeing her friends and loved ones die over and over and over and over again. So even though she was a god, human emotions still controlled her actions. But also I thought they said she wasn't a god. I'm confused. I think a while ago they may have said that. I don't know. I'll stop interrupting the story. I'll stop interrupting the story. Irene was star-crossed lovers with Shad, and they were caught in a constant cycle of conflict, which kind of reminds me of the demon warlock and Travis's mom. But yeah, they were in a constant cycle of conflict. She would throw him into realms, and they would fight, and then he'd break out of realms, and that's why he's also known as Shad the Realm Breaker, because he's Shad the Destroyer, but also Shad the Realm Breaker. She loved him, but she put others first because Shad was hurting people. Forever compelled to solve the conflict. So she put people before herself. So she was in love with Shad, but was like, Shad, you're being mean to people, so I'm gonna beat you up. So Aphmau moans from pain, and then she's like, no, keep going. And then Hyria's like, okay, cool, chill, I'm gonna keep going. I don't know why she moans in pain. I think it's because memories hurt. I don't know. Anyways, so Esmond was the shield of good and would fight with Irene, and he caught feelings for her, but like the stress of everything kind of like made Irene not have emotions, because she like lived so long. And I guess once you see your like friends and family die for like the 100th time, you kind of start to lose all emotions. And so their logic was, okay, so she no longer loves people, and I, Esmond, am in love with her. So Esmond, Enki, and Coolzak were like, if Shad were gone, there would be no darkness, and then Irene would be happy and be able to love again. So Shad got angry and ascended and turned into the Shadow Lord. And so Irene created the Irene dimension to trap Shad there. And then that's where Shad, they shattered Shad. They broke Shad. That's where they broke Shad. And took his relic and shattered his relic in essence, and then like trapped it, and then like put it in random things around the world. and trapped him in the nether because Shad is the Shadow Lord, like we had already established. And that hurt Irene more than anything else because, again, Irene loved Shad. They were star-crossed lovers. So Aphmau moans again from pain, and Hyria is like, you feel anything yet? And she's like, no, I'm fine. And she's like, okay, I'll keep going then. Then we get a thank you. No, it's not thank you next. What's that song, the Ariana Grande song that's like, it's called We Can't Be Friends. We get a We Can't Be Friends moment from Irene. By that I mean I'm referring to the music video. Not an Ariana Grande fan. It's a good music video, I will say. But basically she wanted to seal her memories and take her powers away and just go into a deep summer because of what had happened with Shad, because of the whole Shad thing. Because of the whole Shad thing, you know, killing her, the person she loves and whatever. Yeah, so Hyria took her memories and powers and put it in the Irene relic, which is what Aphmau has. And then Irene was like, okay, here, take this staff. And then if anyone needs me, the staff will glow and I will help them. And then apparently Vlad went into the woods and she gave him the staff. And he was like, wait, that was the actual Irene helping me? I just thought we were praying for her or something. And I don't remember what staff they're talking about. The only staff I can think of was the staff that Xenix had that took them to the Wyvern dimension. I can't think of a staff that Vlad had. Hyria is like, you are Lady Irene, Aphmau, and Aphmau's like, what? And everybody starts freaking out. And then there's flashbacks. Travis is there. I think Travis is Enki. Garth is there, and he's Esmond. And guys, Aaron is Shad. Aaron was Shad. Oh my god. And Hyria says that the relic that Zienna has, was Garth's mom, Zienna has, is drawn to Aphmau because it's Shad's relic. Like I said, the relic is not only drawn to people with similar personalities, but similar bloodlines. And what does Aphmau have brewing in that belly of... Sorry, that sounded so wrong. But what does Aphmau have that is a part of Aaron's bloodline? His baby. That's why the relic is drawn to her. Everyone is freaking out. Anyways, so Zienna's, Garth's mom's like, oh my god, he's alive. Because they are talking about how the only relatives of Shad is like the family from Falconclaw, which is, you know, Aaron was the Lord of Falconclaw. So Zienna was like, oh my god, Falconclaw, that lord is still alive? That's crazy. I'm so happy. I thought my son fucking killed all of them. And then she gets overwhelmed and goes outside. Hyria is like, you got a baby from good and evil. I wonder how things will turn out. Why did you say that? Why did you say that, Hyria? Why did you? I don't know. So we go back to Garth's POV, and Zienna's outside freaking out about her guilt from how crappy Zane was. So then it pivots back to Garth's relationship issues, and then Vlad is giving him advice, and he's like, I love how I'm getting advice from a Shadow Knight with no emotions about my love life. So everyone heads back to Phoenix Drop, but Zienna stays for tea, and I don't think we ever learn. I'm assuming it's because of Esmond. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. Because Hyria knows that Shad's descendants are Falconclaw. So I'm only assuming that Hyria knows that. Am I crazy? I don't know. Anyways, the last scene of season 2 is Lawrence standing outside of the nether portal that's in the Wolf Tribe with Sasha and Michi, saying that he needs to answer the calling. And Sasha goes, so if you saw her again, she would be dead. And Lawrence doesn't respond. But we all know who she is and who would be dead. And that is the end of season 2. We did it. We got through all 100 episodes. Oh my god. Okay, guys. So I'm actually posting the recap of season 2 in a different video because I have a lot I want to say, and I do want to have a discussion about season 2, which I don't think most people are going to watch to the end of this video. So I'm just going to make a final thoughts. video so we can all talk about it and have a nice little place to talk about it. So, yeah. Bye.